Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast episode of Tour Life. You got Brodie and Uli tonight, and we got a lot to talk about. We got a full slate on our hands. I wasn't really sure if it was going to be busy. You know, we got some stories last minute pop up that we have to dive into.
Yeah.
And before we do that, though, I want to say that we have a lot going on right now on the Discraft team websites, as well, or like the individual player websites on teamdiscraft.com, as well as on Foundation. So right now, if you're listening to this and you want any of these discs that we're about to talk about, the best thing for you to do is to leave, go to the website, pick them up. If you're listening to this a few days from now, they might all be gone, or your favorite colors might be gone. So the sooner the better. We just released these Get Flippies. These are UV meteors. Some turn purple, some turn blue. So which is actually kind of a cool thing, because once you get them, you don't know what color it's going to be until you go outside and put them in the sun. And then once they hit the sun, you'll see exactly what they look like. I've thrown these a few times now. I would say they're a little flippier than the Dark Horseman crystal meteors that we did a while ago. So if you're looking for a little bit more of a flippier disc, the meteor is a great one. And then also everyone loves the Get Freaky Zone. So we did it in a different plastic. These are Get Freaky ESP Flex plastics. So these are really bendy. So if you like that feel of the Crystal Flex, but you want something a little bit straighter, because these actually turned out to be a little bit straighter than the Crystal Flex, you can pick up these Get Freaky ESP Flexes as well on Brodie. These are all on brodiesmith.discraft.com. I have some signed discs that I did on there. And then we also have top stamped Zone OSs. So you can check those all out. Top stand Zone OSs are on there as well. Uli, you've got some stuff. Let the people know what you got over on your site.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff on there. I mean, a lot of different molds from Raptors, Scorches, Buzzes, Zones, whatever you want as far as that goes. But my promotion is actually a mystery box. I have a mystery box. You can get 4 discs, a hat, and a pair of Uli sunglasses for $87, which I think is a pretty good deal. I also have a giveaway going over on my Foundation page, to where if you do a $50 donation, you get entered into a big giveaway where I'm giving away like a Zuka cart that I used last year and a bunch of discs and stuff like that. So go check that out as well.
Very nice. And we did just get done with our first giveaway. We gave away a first run Captain's Raptor as well as a Get Freaky, and those are hopefully going to be in the hands, or I guess it was a Zone OS, not a Get Freaky, but those will be in the hands of the winner shortly. The announcement on that already went over on Twitter. And also Foundation right now has some cool things. This is the coolest thing I think Discraft has done with the Tour series. Is this is like AB's Venom, bottom stamped, but you can get them now customized for your retail store, your club, your tournament, whatever you want. So we have Foundation stamped Venoms, and we have Foundation stamped Zone OSs as well right now over on foundationdisc.com. And we have my favorite hat right now. I'm in love with this thing. They come with a bunch of different colors. I love this. Might be my new hat, like in the sense of like the Velcro strap at the back. I don't like the little prickly ones or whatever, those little pop ones, because a lot of times they just like pop off my head, or my head's so massive that I have like 1 or 2 left and it's just annoying. The Velcro strap on the back is awesome. They fit real nice. And the thing I like, I sweat a lot. It's been really hot. Heck, it was so hot in DMC last week. I was sweating so bad. And the hats don't stain. That's my big problem, is like my head gets so sweaty that you get like those sweat stains, especially on the black ones, and you have to wash it almost every single time after you use it. These don't get them. So check them out. They also do come in coral. If you did watch our practice round, you would get the inside joke there. Last thing, today's episode is brought to you by the Heiser Club. Get early access to disc drops, bonus videos, and podcasts, discounts on merch and disc, and much more. If you're interested in joining the Heiser Club, which is Patreon for our Foundation Disc Golf's Patreon, you can get a 30-day free trial right now. Just check out the link in the description down below. All right, enough of that. Coral. Everyone's here in the chat live with us, and we've got a lot to talk about. So let's jump into it right now. The first thing, obviously, on top of everyone's mind is, well, I just set that up, and I feel like everyone thinks I'm going to go one way, and I'm just going to do like a little audible and go a different way. We're going to do the DMC recap. The Des Moines Challenge just went down. Uli, how did it go down for you? It's looking like Tour Life is making some moves as of late. The Tour Life crew is making some moves, brother. It's good to see.
I had a crazy tournament, honestly. I played good the first round. I shot at 8 under with a couple bogeys, which is nice. But that was like only good enough for like a tie for 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And like last cash was at that point, the cut line was at like 5 under. So it wasn't that good, but the hot round was 13. So I was 5 off the lead. Kind of felt like a middle packish round.
Did you think it was going to be that? Like, did you think people were going to shoot that well out there?
I did.
In low wind?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
I knew, like, I knew for me to be competitive, I needed to shoot like double digits to to try to win.
And then, of course, the second round got canceled due to, which was a good thing for me, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because I caught a bad cold right after my round on Friday. And then Saturday, I was done. And then, when Sunday came, I was still pretty sick. Played the round. It was crazy windy that round. And ended up shooting a 2 under. I had a good back nine. I started off, I was 4 over after 5 holes. Shot a 6 under on the back, I think. Five under on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to come back for a nice solid 2 under par, or 6 under to shoot a 2 under par, and then ended up getting 12th place, which was my best finish in a long time. Also got my USDGC spot.
Yeah,
which was huge. I mean, that was the big goal this year. Being from Rock Hill and it being right across the street, it was a lot of pressure I put on myself this year to get that, and I was never even close, like all year. So
now, did you go into a playoff? It
was crazy. So on 18, I'm exhausted. And I'm like, okay, I don't even want to look because I know I'm so far out of the USDGC spot. I don't even want to look. So I'm sitting at about 420 feet from the pin, and I'm behind that guardian bush. So I have like pretty much nothing. And I look and I'm like, I'm only 2 strokes out of the USDGC spot. And I'm like, okay, it's windy. Like anything can happen. I have to go for the birdie. I throw over the bleachers, Annie, with like a stable nuke, flexes out, dude, going probably 100 feet past the basket, hits the tree, falls down to 5 feet for the birdie.
My.
And then, unfortunately, a couple guys stumbled coming in.
Yep.
And I ended up tying for it. So I had to wait a while because I'm like looking at my phone like, this is going to be pretty close. Tristan had it kind of locked up. He ended up taking a pretty big number on the last hole.
He doubled the final hole. Mm-hmm.
And so we go to a playoff. And then
wasn't there a third guy too?
Yes, Dawson Snelling.
Okay, yes. Who had an incredible first round and was on lead card final round. Yep. So we go to the playoff, and I end up missing like a 18-footer to get it on the first hole for par. Did you guys play hole 1? You guys played hole 1?
We played hole 1, yeah. And I missed like a 15-footer. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then Dawson actually took a double bogey. Tristan took a bogey. We go to the second hole. He ended up throwing it out of bounds.
So does Dawson stay in at that point, though? Does Dawson stay in?
He's out.
Okay, so he didn't. Okay, so it's like you two got bogey, he got double, he's gone. So now it's just you and Tristan.
Yeah, Tristan throws a shot, and it kind of gets lifted by the wind and hits the tree branches and filtered out of bounds left, which wasn't the best break, honestly. And then that enabled me to just be able to like throw a decent shot, throw it up there, lay up, and get the par. And I ended up taking it down second hole.
Nice, man. That's awesome. And it is so relieving, especially with how hard it is getting to qualify for some of these big tournaments. It
Crazy.
is so because the thing that's wild too is sometimes you'll at a certain tournament you can get 10th place and qualify for USCGC, right? Or you can get 18th place or 20th place because all the people that are beating you already are qualified and are in. Or you can be in like your situation where there was a bunch of people that played really well that had not qualified yet. So it's just like, it's kind of one of those things where you can kind of be unlucky of where you just, the tournament you play really well that you're like, oh, okay, this is my shot to qualify. You might be in a situation where a bunch of other people that didn't qualify yet also played really well, because it'd be interesting to see what the average finish is for a USCGC qualifier spot. Because my bet is it's not as high as what you guys just did. Because you said 16th is what you got?
No, I got 12th.
12th. Yeah, that's crazy.
For the last spot.
For the last spot. That's nuts.
So what's crazy is the people that ended up getting it were Barsby and Simon.
Did Babcock get it too, though? Wasn't those the three?
Yes.
Yeah, and Simon hadn't qualified yet either, which is nuts.
And he had already won an Elite Series, but it wasn't a qualifier, it's just so
stupid.
So crazy.
So stupid.
Well, Austin Turner hasn't gotten one yet, and he took third place at an Elite Series. In the next tournament, he took fifth, and he ended up not getting one at either of those tournaments.
I don't get it. Does someone need to step in and tell Innova, listen, if you want to keep this as your major, first off, we've talked about this. I do not like that a manufacturer owns a major. I think that's silly. I don't think that makes sense. I think it needed to happen, right? And I applaud Innova for stepping up and putting in all the groundwork and doing everything they did to get it started. But it doesn't make sense moving forward that they can handpick what tournaments they want to make USCGCs. And to me, I would love it to have a third party. Someone has to take over because, like you said, Simon winning and it not qualifying for USCGC, that's so hard to explain to a fan. Like that just doesn't make any sense.
Well, how do you go from like Goat Hill? They give 2 spots away, and then they don't give 2 spots away at 2 Elite Series. Like, that's mind blowing to me. And then the other thing is they're only giving 4 spots away at the Elite Series now. They used to give 5, so they took it down a spot too, so they could add more 2 qualifiers at different parts of the country, which, I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's kind of ridiculous. Like, the spots you give away, I get giving spots away in like Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But just like throwing one like in Colorado to be like, oh, well, they should have a chance to qualify. It's like,
while there's other big tournaments going on that no one's going to that one for.
Right. I'm like, no. The qualifiers should always be Elite Series first. And then if you have enough spots to give away, or you give qualifiers at like a lot of spots at like a qualifier within that region or something.
That's what I want to see.
Tournament.
That's what I want. I want to see like a qualifying process. So it's like you can qualify for USCGC on the Pro Tour. And if you're good enough if you have a tour card, obviously you can compete. And we've seen people qualify in Pro Tour events, and then you can work your way into maybe a good finish and qualify. If you can't do it that way, I would love to see like at 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that before USCGC starts. There's a Southeast qualifier, a Northeast qualifier, like a Northwest, a Midwest, a South Central, Southwest. Like, have these different qualifiers and like have them have to go through like 2 weeks or something of qualifying, to where now all of a sudden you've got like 10 extra people that made it through those qualifiers. To me, that's so much better than just like, hey, we're going to throw it at this random tournament that no one's going to go to. And it's just going to go to, the lucky people that are in the area and played well. Like, to me, I would love to see that qualifier thing of where everyone's like, this is my chance. It would be so fun to like watch that and see who's doing it. you would see pros that weren't able to qualify that year through the pro tour. They would have to go and figure out what courses may suit their game the best to go to that qualifier. I would love to see it. So we'll see if that happens in the future. But I know everyone's stoked that you got you got your qualification. You're going to be at USCGC this year.
Same tournament I got it at last year, and I was going to send it to your boys Trevor and them, because last year they were throwing some heat my way saying that I wasn't going to qualify, and I sent them a funny video, and I was going to make the video again, but I didn't hear them talking about it this year. So, but I remember those things.
Yeah, I think they just started maybe looking at who hasn't qualified yet. Like I believe this week in Grip Locked, they went over like the tour championship points. So like the people that are on the bubble and stuff, they normally do the tour qualifier a little bit later in the season. So I'm sure or not the tour qualifier, the USCGC qualifier and stuff a little bit later. So we'll see kind of who's on the bubble. It's always interesting to be like, man, these 4 guys haven't qualified yet. They have got 2 more events to do it. See what happens. My tournament was kind of similar to yours, I guess, in a way where, I went out and had a decent round. Round 1. First time on Jomez, I believe this year. I want to say, yes, that is correct. First time on Jomez this year. So it was good to be in that atmosphere of, having 3 other really good players on my card and then having a pretty large crowd following us with the cameras. So that was really cool. And I played pretty solid. There was a couple mistakes here and there that I would love to fix. Like hole 1, I was playing so well in all practice, and I went super safe, which I'm okay with. It's the first shot of the tournament. Last thing I want to do is pull my drive right and go OB and then have that really, really hard to save par for not being able to advance that much. So I played it safe. I landed probably 50 to 75 feet shorter than I was in practice. My thing that I really struggled with was my grip. It was so hot that I was having such a hard time keeping my hands dry, and just having a little bit of perspiration on that Z plastic, it just slips so easily. And especially for forehand. Backhand, I've never had really any grip issues, even if my hand's kind of slippery at all. I feel like the backhand, I've got enough fingers on it, but forehand, I'm really just, 2 fingers, thumb on top, and that's it. And if there's any sort of perspiration on this one finger, I really struggle to get a good release. And that's what you saw on the first hole. Like, I mean, my forehand came out like a dead duck. And that was an unfortunate way to start my round, but luckily, I was able to kind of turn around with some good play on some of the other holes. Another bummer for me was probably hole 14. That was another hole that kind of stuck out. I saw Gannon kind of hit early and landed in the fairway, and so he went big hyzer over the top. And then Simon and me were almost identical spots in the fairway, and he went first and did the big hyzer and, almost made it. And I was going forehand the entire, I had already made up my mind getting up to my lie, I was going to go forehand. And then once I saw him go backhand hyzer over everything and take the gap, take the OB, take everything out of play, I was like, gosh, he just made that look so freaking easy. I never practiced that shot. And yeah, that was one that I feel like probably cost me a stroke there, or maybe half a stroke. I feel like it's not obviously a given that I would have gotten up and down if I would have thrown the forehand. But
so you ended up going with that other shot.
Yeah, I went with the hyzer, and so that kind of bummed me out after I did it, and I was just like, why did I do that, man? Just I need to stick to my game plan, stick to what I know best. I then proceeded to shank my backhand on the next hole, again throwing a shot. I did a practice round with Aaron Gossage. He was like, hey man, throw like a flippy, like your flippiest fairway, and that's how you're going to get really far up the fairway. And it's true. If you throw it well, you'll get way up the fairway. But it's an awkward shot for me. And in practice, I was just throwing like my machete flat and then kind of skipping up the hill and then having like a 330 shot. And again, it's like I didn't really commit to it. And it's like whenever I don't commit to a shot, that's when bad things happen. So those 2 shots were the ones that I really wish I could have gotten back and done differently. But other than that, I played pretty good. I mean, heck, I almost threw in a couple like hole 9s tee shot, almost win. I almost made 18 was close. There was a couple where I was like, oh man, that scared the basket. So overall played decent, put myself in a good spot. And then, really was hoping to have 2 more rounds to have more time to kind of move up the leaderboard. Cause in practice, I shot 12 one day with missing 3 putts inside the circle. So I knew I could shoot really well out there and I wanted another chance at doing that. And Saturday, the wind was pretty low. So if we could have played Saturday, it would have been out there for me to potentially move up quick. But obviously we'll get into that in a second. But Sunday I was able to kind of make a little bit of a move by birding some holes early. The big thing for me Sunday, Yules, I didn't make one island. Hole 4, hit inbounds, bounce back OB, bogey. Hole 5, should have thrown backhand into the wind with the wind, went forehand, lifted, OB right, bogey. Hole 7, should have gone backhand again because of the wind, went forehand, flipped it, bogey. So it's like those 3 holes, you would have liked to have gotten 1, maybe 2. So in my mind, I'm like, man, I just left like 4 shots out by playing those three holes 3 over when you want to play at least 1 under. So that was a bummer. And then hole 18, I'm looking at the top 10 situation, right? And I'm like, all right, if I par hole 18, which was very hard, you getting a birdie on that hole, how difficult that hole was with the wind, and, didn't throw a great tee shot. Second shot got clipped by a tree. So then I'm 450 out into that headwind. I'm like, I'm just going to launch, because I was thinking in my head, I don't really have an easy way of laying up to a good spot. Yeah. So I'm like, instead of me throwing a hard shot to a layup area to then have another hard shot, instead of giving myself 2 chances to basically throw OB, I'm like, let me just launch this backhand at the basket and then see what happens. Turn it over a little bit into the bush, threw my get freaky up there. It was headed right at the basket, got a little wind lift to 20 feet just over, and then got my first chain spit out, whatever you want to call it, on hole 18. And I was so bummed because I was like, wow, that's going to knock me out of a top 10. But like you said, a lot of people kind of struggled coming in. And so I was able to sneak in there. So first top 10 of the season. I'm going to try to keep it kind of going. I do not believe in momentum like Hunter does. I don't think there is such a thing as momentum in disc golf. I think it's like confidence. Like if you're playing well, you can kind of keep it going. If there was such a thing as momentum, like if you birdie the first hole, you should always birdie the second hole. And if you bogey a hole, then your round just ruined. Like
I had a, not to interrupt, but I think this goes well into what you're saying. Is I had a talk with my sports psychologist this week because I was feeling kind of like weird about the whole thing. I didn't like that I missed like the easy putt to get in the US CGC qualifier, and I had some questions, and then I've had this like feeling of like, oh, I'm trending in the right direction. Trending's a real thing, and I'm like. And the feeling that I get inside is like, okay, it's close. It's really close. And that's like a real feeling that manifests into usually good play. But it also kind of creates like a little more pressure that I don't like. And so I was talking to him about that. And he said something that I'd never heard before explained this way. He said, well, don't chase the result, which I've heard before. He said, chase the feeling. Like, how did you get to this spot where you're having this feeling of this is a great feeling, like when you're close and you're excited to play, like you were saying for the second round, like I just wanted to get out there because I have 12 birdies to get. And I'm like, I've never heard of it explained like that, because if you're chasing a feeling, it's different than a result. Okay. So then you can kind of break it down. Okay, so how did I get myself into this position where I have this great feeling of playing? So I don't know if that hits with you or not, but it really hit with me because that's so much it's so much easier to chase that feeling, because then I can go back and say, okay, these are the things I've done to get here, which has been an uphill battle for me this entire year. You know what I mean? Like a crazy uphill battle. So now when I'm finally starting to trend and play good, the feeling is like, if you win a tournament, you know, that like anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I did it, you know, type thing. So chasing that is like more important because of how good it feels to be playing good is better than chasing a result, which can put pressure on you.
Because I think a lot of times too, results don't necessarily always equate to how you felt you played, right? So what you said, you know, strings so true to so many, I'm sure, out there, of where maybe a few bad breaks went your way, maybe you missed a couple putts, but you committed to every shot. You went through your pre-shot routine. You never gave up. You never just threw in the towel. You gave it everything you had. And, you know, sometimes other people are just going to play better than you. And, you know, if the 10 people that beat me at DMC all played a little bit worse, I would have won that tournament. And I would have played exactly the same. And because I won, does that now all of a sudden make me feel like I played better than I actually did? You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't. Like, I should be able to be like, man, I made that mistake there. Man, I made that. I got to fix that, regardless of whether I win or lose. So I think that's a great mentality to take into. And talking about mentality, the FPO field had to deal with a lot of mental stuff this week because it kind of got flipped, right? Like last year, it was kind of tough for MPO because FPO went out and were able to essentially finish their round 2, and MPO wasn't. And so a lot of us had to play 2 rounds in one day, and that was very brutal. The course held up. I don't know if it didn't rain as much as maybe it rained way more last year, but I felt like the course last year was awful after the delays. Like, it was so muddy. It was just so hard to get good footing. This year it didn't feel like that. So maybe it didn't rain. Maybe it was just a lot more lightning. But the weather delays and the cancellation of round 2 for MPO was a big story. I think it got escalated because Zootown Open not too long ago had a cancellation of a round, and you have Evan Scott taking home the victory after 2 rounds. That was a silver event, so I feel like a lot of people were just like, whatever. This was an elite event, and we'll get a little bit into actually DMC as an event because I want to talk about all the incredible things they're doing. This is one of the bigger, I want to say, this is like you're trending towards to be one of the bigger marquee events of the year. With the atmosphere, with so many things, the course, the atmosphere, the fans, the purse, there's so many things trending, making this a big event and stands out a little bit more than other elite events. And I can totally see how people were bummed out that one of the rounds got canceled and Gannon Buhr wins the Des Moines Challenge after 2 rounds. But my question to you, Uli, is, was there anything that we could have done differently to avoid this from happening?
Yeah, we could have played and a tornado could have came and just absolutely destroyed disc golf as we know it. That's an option. Not a good one, but it's not an option. So I don't think there's anything you can do in this situation. What it comes down to is you have to protect the player. And if there's lightning
and the fans.
Yeah, right. Yeah. 100% fans.
Mm-hmm.
So if they cancel a round due to weather, I'm going to tell you this, man. Mother Nature's undefeated. You can't beat it. Like, you go into your house or into the basement when she gets really mad. So I have no problem with them canceling rounds. I have no problem with it at all due to those things. If there's lightning, listen, when I was a kid, we played a golf tournament. And they let us play even though there was a storm like pretty far away. And we were playing, kid got struck by lightning that we were playing with, blue skies, completely blue skies ahead of us. He got struck by lightning from 20 miles away. So it's a real thing that we're dealing with here, right? It's not like they're like, come on, it's blue skies, it's perfect out. Why are we canceling this round? It happens. Like, people get struck by lightning from distances that are far away. So
Yeah.
I personally understand it. And I don't have any problem with it. It's the worst case scenario is like with the Evan Scott thing, unfortunately, is when you've played, you don't know it's going to get canceled and then it's done. So
Yeah.
I feel like we got lucky in this situation that it was a round that we knew going into this tournament. If you were looking at the weather, I told everybody, I'm like, listen, today I went out with the mentality.
You got to go nuts.
I'm like, I want to shred today because, tomorrow's not going to happen. I like acted like tomorrow's not a real thing. This is a 2-round tournament. And I hope other people did that, because if they didn't, I feel like I got a big time advantage for thinking that way.
Yeah, and it was also going to be one of those scenarios too where the wind was going to be so bad that, to me, I did want to dive into this a little bit with the weather, because I think how the course played on Sunday, I would love to play courses that are that difficult without the wind.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do, but when you are able to, have it to where the winner shoots 6 under and you've got people in the top 5 shooting 4 under, 2 under, it allows people to go out and shoot 8 under and make a huge move. When you've got a course where I don't think Gannon was going to shoot less than 10 under out there. So if you have that, now you're trying to tell someone like, hey, if you want to take strokes on the leaders, you have to shoot 15 under, 16 under. That means you have to only be able to par 2 holes. That to me is crazy and very hard to do. So I think you get to see a lot more crazy movement on the leaderboards when we can get that number lower. And I loved how the course played on Sunday, but I think we all knew, hey, we got to go out and get it, because if you are too far down the leaderboard, Sunday ain't going to be easy. Right. And I don't even know if double digits was even possible on Sunday. Like, you really need, like, Gannon played really, really well. To make a huge move or to beat Gannon on Sunday, Gannon needed to play bad, because he had a big lead on a lot of people and then played one of the better rounds. I mean, I think Paul Oman might have shot better than him on, let me see here.
I think Evan 600 was the best round.
Nope, Evan Smith. He went out earlier. It was windy all day, though. I'm not going to do that. It was windy all day. He shot 57. There was a handful of 58s, and that's what Gannon shot. So, yeah, it was. Gannon ended up playing good twice, 2 rounds, played the best basically out of everyone. He's going to win. You're not going to beat him. But if he would have, had an off round like some people did, Gavin Babcock, for example, was tied with Gannon, and then he ends up losing by 4. He didn't play that well the final round. So it is possible, but what I'll say with weather delays, and, a lot of people on social media were talking about you need to add an extra round and all this. It is so hard to do that, right? You got to think about, Pickard Park, for example. It might have been feasible for them to do it there, but I don't know if they would have to run through a lot of hoops even at Pickard Park, because they would have to have the city allow them to have that park another day get shut down. But let's just say like let's go Portland Open, right? I believe they spent $100,000 to have that course the entire week. So it was over $10,000 or so a day, let's just say. For them to do another Monday, one, I don't even know if Glendoveer would have said like, oh yeah, you guys can extend it one more day. And 2, the money there. Now, obviously, these are all things that could be potentially worked out beforehand. Like, hey, if we need to extend another day, can we do that? You can do that all beforehand. But the other thing too is now you extend one day. Now people are finishing Monday night, and now they're getting into the next tournament Tuesday afternoon, we might have a tournament starting on Thursday, and now you have like a day and a half of practice. It's the way that it's set up right now. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know what the solution is.
Well, what I hear is people say, well, traditional golf does it, and they get to play Monday if a round gets canceled. And there's a big difference here, because if they cancel a round, they lose a lot of money.
But no,
they lose a lot.
No, I know.
If they didn't have it, I'm saying like the commercials and everything.
Yeah. I'm talking about the players.
I'll get to that.
Oh yeah, sorry, go. Yeah.
No, I'll get to that. So if they cancel a round, the commercials, those guys are making a lot of money with that. They're making money. Mm-hmm. Like they need the extra day to make money. I don't think the Pro Tour is making money. You know what I mean? From that extra day, they're like you just said with Glendevere, they're going to lose it. They're going to lose a lot of money because they have to rent it out for another day. So that's a big difference. And then of course, as far as the money for the players, yeah, they're getting a lot of money. They're playing for $1.8 million usually this year for first place. I think I just saw for this tournament coming up, it's 4.8 million or 8.4 million they're playing for. 8.4 million.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing for 130,000.
Well, and my thing is one thing I would like to see is maybe the cuts, right? Because my point is everyone that's playing on Monday is making money. There's no one that's like, ooh, I have to stay an extra day, pay for more hotels, change my flights, whatever, and I might not still make money. So if we had cuts, then everyone's making money on Monday. That might help a little bit, right?
I mean, we're just not in a place because I think the Pro Tour would lose money if they went to a Monday because of salaries that they have to play, and we don't have that income coming in from like big time sponsors from like commercials.
Yeah, we don't even think about like the actual Disc Golf Pro Tour staff. Like, these people get like overtime now because like Monday probably is their day off, and
they have to travel too with their setup.
Yeah, there's just no real good answer. The only I can think of is maybe the Pro Tour starting to look in on how do we get players out in the course faster and get rounds done quicker, so that way we're able to have a smaller window, or we can play in a smaller window. That would be probably the only solution. Is we've got 3 days to play this event and we can get the event done in a day and a half.
Yeah.
So then they really have a day and a half of where they can mess around with bad weather. And how do you do that? You have a cut. You do starts on the hole 1 and hole 10, get at people off on the course quick. You do those things, and all of a sudden you maybe go to threesomes instead of foursomes. I would love, what do you think about this, Uli? Give us threesomes in every group except for the lead and feature, like the feature groups. Give us threesomes.
Yeah, like the top 3 or foursomes, and then everybody else's.
I get it.
Threesomes.
You want to have as many people on camera as possible. I understand that. So you have everyone on lead card, chase card, feature cards, foursomes, and then all the other groups, threesomes. And now the backups, all those things would disappear. It would be so much cleaner. I don't know. Things to think about, but stuff like this needs to happen, I think, for the Pro Tour to be like, man, maybe change needs to happen. But that was obviously the big story about the Des Moines Challenge, is the cancellation of round 2. For me, this tournament has some of the best crowds, and I'll tell you why. Hole 1, no matter what time you teed off, there were people there cheering for you, rooting for you, clapping for you when you got introduced. Hole 5 might be one of the more electric holes on the entire Pro Tour. They're getting rowdy. They're getting nuts. They're doing the wave. They got bees this year in costumes, which I have no idea who decided to do that in like the 95-degree weather, wearing full bee costumes.
They're Hole 5 hive or whatever. They had like a thing.
Yeah, maybe next year they're gonna actually have like a beekeeper out there and like a full-on beekeeper uniform or attire, I guess. But hole 5 was incredible all week. Like you would hear roars when you're teeing off on hole 1, or if you're on 6 or wherever, 18, you would hear roars on hole 5, which is awesome. Hole 7, they had that 6 setup with the bleachers behind hole 7. Tons of people were back there watching shots on hole 7 and hole 8's tee shot all week. Then you had hole 9. People were posted up on top of the hill, chilling up there, watching shots go up there, watching shots go down 16, watching putting on 15, watching tee shots on 10. That was a really cool spot for a lot of people to hang out. And then hole 18, you had the bleachers on the left. You had a lot of people up by the green. It is one of the more well-attended fan tournaments, and I would say also one of the louder fans. And I love that. I love fans that aren't afraid to cheer and get excited. And it was great. It was a great tournament, great atmosphere. And coming from DDO to this, it was night and day, man. Night and day.
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, I teed off at 12. And I had a sweet group. I had the first day I had Conrad, Matt Orm, and Cole Radalin. And we had 100 to 200 people following us the whole round. And then the final round, I had Anthony. I forgot who else I had, but we had huge gallery with us, and we were like the 5th card or something. So it was definitely a breath of fresh air to have the crowd kind of show up. And like you said, I talked about this last week, that I don't think people realize the boost that we get from the crowd. Like, talk about momentum. If you have the crowd, there is a little momentum on your side if you can win them over. I do believe that.
I mean, I think it's just like an extra confidence boost, right? Like you make a huge putt and there's silence, versus you make a huge putt and there's roars. Now you're getting into it and you're like, let's freaking go. And you kind of get going after that. I mean, it is so much more fun to play in front of a crowd. And it's definitely a tournament that every year I look forward to going back, and they keep just leveling up, man. We've already talked about all the course changes and stuff last week, but they keep leveling up. So, all right, enough about us. Let's talk about the people that played well. And maybe we talk about a little bit of the people that didn't play well. So you've got Gannon Buhr taking it down, shooting 19 under for the week. His 3rd win of the season, already with 3 wins, about halfway through the season at this point. He led the field in strokes gained tee to green, led the field in birdies, and led the field in C2 putting. He also is currently leading out of everyone this whole season in C2 putting. So he's the best putting. He's the best from C2 this year. No surprise there, but really, really played well, especially coming off of his worst finish of the year. And I don't know if this was really talked about that much on coverage, or if you guys kind of mentioned it maybe on Jomez, but he has had his worst finish at DDO. He finished 50th place, and he comes into Des Moines. He has a little bit probably added extra pressure, because it's like, I just played terrible, and now I'm like the hometown favorite here. And he just goes out and crushes both rounds.
I think this goes into your point that you've kind of been making on our podcast every single week, that it's not a rare thing to see people just struggle anymore. That's not a thing, because let's go back. Emerson wins. I believe he missed cash the next week.
Parker.
Okay. And no, Adam.
Oh, Adam. Yep. Missed cash the next week. Yep.
Parker.
Mm-hmm. So you're
and
saying
then now
Gannon.
we have a winner.
So now you're saying
I'm saying Gannon's coming off. He's coming off a missed cash. So I'm saying these guys are sandwiching wins in with at least one missed cash from whatever week.
Yeah.
And these are the winners. These are the winners of the Pro Tour. So it's not a crazy thing that we'll see somebody struggle like you've been saying, and that's the proof, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's he looked in control of his game the entire time, and I got to play with him round 1. Sometimes these guys make things look so easy that you don't really realize how good they're shooting. So we finished, and he's like, I shot 13 under, and I'm like, what? You shot 13 under? You beat me by 5? I don't really feel like you did that much, but it's like that's the thing, is they just make it look easy, man. They don't make really that many mistakes, and they cash in birdies when they need to, and very impressive win by Gannon. He's going to continue to kind of move up this crazy what am I like? We don't know how good Gannon's going to be, I guess. Is what I'm trying to say. His trajectory, yeah, is
steep. It's very steep.
It's very steep, and he still has so much to get better at too. That's the crazy thing, is like he's got the skills, he's got the talent, but I think there is even more the experience. Like that is where once he starts getting more of that, then I think he only becomes better, and that's only going to obviously come with time. So it's been really fun to watch him play, and it was really cool to kind of see him and his buddy Gavin kind of go back and forth a little bit. And really, we were talking about like these kind of like friend groups, right? There's a couple like friend groups that do a bunch of videos together, hang out. This friend group of Gannon Buhr, Isaac Robinson, Ezra Robinson, Gavin Babcock, and then Alden ended up not having the greatest tournament, but those 4 guys all finished inside the top 10.
Yeah.
Inside the top 3, excuse me. Inside the top, they all 3rd or better, those 4 guys. So pretty nuts to see from them. But like I said, Isaac Robinson, he shot up the leaderboard, shooting 58, made up a lot of spots, actually was like pushing kind of the lead for a little bit because he ended up finishing way before Gannon did. So Gannon obviously got some of those easy birdies. 16's kind of like a must-get birdie. 17, if you hit the gap, you're pretty much getting a birdie there. So Gannon was able to kind of get the birdies he needed to end up winning. But Isaac ends up doubling on hole 18 to basically take the pressure off of Gannon. Had Isaac been able to go out and birdie 18, which would have been really hard to do, we would have maybe seen a playoff. Or if he would have had a par, then he kind of would have forced Gannon to actually make that putt that he did anyways. Were you surprised that Gannon ran that putt on 18?
No, he had a big enough lead.
And I don't think he would have ran it if it was in a different tournament. I think if it was somewhere else, like if it's USDGC, if it's
he's laying that up if it's USDGC.
Yeah, if it's USDGC, if it's Jonesboro, if it's like somewhere like out, he's got the home crowd there. Everyone's getting hyped. He loves that. He loves playing into that, and so it's no surprise that he went for that.
I was rooting for, honestly, Ezra Robinson to win. I thought that would have been really cool if he could have got the job done, because he was up there the whole week.
2 shots
if he
off
could have
the
got
lead.
The job done.
Going into the final round.
That would have been awesome. And he was pushing up there for a little bit. He had a great front 9, and then the back 9 was a little iffy.
He's been kind of sneaky good this year. Not a lot of people talking about him, but he's been sneaky good at a couple tournaments. He got 15th at Jonesboro, 8th at Zootown, 6th at DDO, and now 3rd at Des Moines. So he's had a good little stretch here the last few tournaments. So, keep an eye out for Ezra, the younger brother of Isaac Robinson. Some people think he's older. He is the younger brother of the two. Greg Barsby, good to see him back up there. Not really someone that I would have put money on to play well at that course. It didn't really scream like a Barsby course to me. But watching some of the highlights and seeing how he played, he was just draining putts, it looked like, all week.
Yeah.
And that's also coming off of an 89th place at Portland. So good for him. He took home $3,225. We'll get to the cash here in a second because I do want to talk a little bit about the payouts. But good job for Barsby. Calvin Heidenberg, no surprise there. He gets another top 5 finish, finishing the 3rd. And then we talked about already Ezra and Gavin both finishing in the top 5 as well, tied for 3rd. Then you've got a couple of the big arm guys, Anthony Barella and Simon Lizotte, coming in for tied for 7th. Simon not able to defend his title. Just didn't have the gas on the final day. Kind of shoots a little bit. He shoots a 61.
A pretty good defense, though.
Yeah. I mean, 2
like
shots off the lead.
Yeah, I think that's defending's tough. And so if you're in the lead card going into the final round and you won the tournament before, I think that's a pretty good defense of your tournament.
Yep. And then AB had a great final day as well, being able to move up into the top 10. And then you have finishing off the top 10, you have Kevin Jones, Chris Clemens, who I played with, had a really good final round, and myself. And there is your top 10. And then some other notable names on here. Uli, there you are at 12th. Kristin Tattar we talked about him a little bit. He had a really good tournament. Other than finishing double, he would have finished in the top 10. So that's another good tournament for Tristan. Dawson Snelling. Anything about this kid? This is the name that jumps out at me of like, who is this? We haven't seen this guy.
He's local. Well, I say local. I believe he's from Illinois. I believe.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. But actually, he's a Fortnite buddy. I played hundreds of hours with this kid on Fortnite.
Oh.
And and so I know a little bit about him. I've also heard from other friends how talented he is, and he plays a lot of local events. And he's I believe his dad plays, and he's been good since he was real little. So he's
young guy,
really talented, young guy, really talented, and he just hasn't toured yet. I think from the people and the sources that I have, if he were to go on tour, he'd be really good.
Nice. Yeah. So great showing by him. It's always cool kind of seeing people that, I think that was his only event on tour this year. Yeah. That was his first event on tour this year. And I'm sure it's always nice being able to jump up to your first Disc Golf Pro Tour event of the year and get on, lead card moving into the second day. So incredible performance by him. Moving down, Ricky, a little surprising finish there with Ricky finishing 10 shots off the lead at 9 under, gets 18th place. Ezra finished at 18th. Ezra again been he's almost like an auto top 20 guy. If we were getting points for top 20s, he would almost be an auto top 20 every week. Very consistent. Chris Dickerson, Matty O, finishing in 18th. And then some, let's kind of go down a little bit to maybe some people that didn't cash that were a little bit surprised with, maybe had a little bit of an off week. Again, when it's as windy as it is, and there's only 2 rounds, I think that makes it to where it's a little bit more volatile, I guess you can say. The more rounds, the more likely the cream is going to rise to the top. So a couple guys missing cash. That's a little bit surprising. You got Andrew Marweed down here. Parker Welk, we just talked about him kind of coming off, missing the cut line as well. Coming off his win. Jeremy Collings down here. Chandler Fry. Kyle Klein. Kyle Klein still might be a little bit kind of banged up. Haven't really heard much from Kyle these last couple years. I think, or last couple months. I think something is potentially wrong. He played so well at Waco, taking the win down at Waco, making it kind of look easy too. I'm not sure what's going on there. Any intel on what's going on with Kyle this season?
I think it's his shoulder.
Shoulder?
Something wrong with the shoulder. Yeah, something's going on with the shoulder or the back. It's one of the two, back or shoulder. I know he's injured.
Okay. Yeah. Because he's definitely not playing to the level that we kind of think and know that he should. Cole Rodalin's down here. Drew Gibson. Andrew Presnell. Couple names. But like I said, with the win being the way it was, 2 rounds, tough to kind of, especially if you didn't play good that first round, man, that's gotta be so brutal. You're like, all right, I got 2 more rounds to go out there and like try to make moves. And then it's just like, no, you don't. Your tournament is over.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, anything else on? Let me see. Oh, I failed to mention Barsby getting that tie for third, tripled the first hole, final round, battled his way back. Yep, tripled the first hole. First hole was playing so hard in that win, dude. Because it's like you juice that hyzer out wide, and you're just like, please come back, please come back. So yeah, triples the first hole, battles back. And then a couple stats for you. In the last 365 days, there have been 3 players that have won 3 times on tour. Gannon is one of those. Name the other 2.
In the last 3 years, who have won 3 times?
No. Last 365 days. So in the last year, like as of right now, 365 days ago, there's only been 3 people that have won 3 times on tour. Gannon's one of them. Name the other 2.
Ricky?
Nope.
All right, so then it's got to be Simon.
Yep.
Calvin.
Yep. Simon, Calvin. And then the other stat I have here, which is a pretty good one, there have been 8 unique winners this year. As of right now, there's been 8 unique winners on the MPO. How many unique winners were there from 2017 to 2022?
8.
So in that 5-year stretch, you think there was only 8 winners, unique winners?
Yeah.
There was 9.
9. Okay.
So there's been 1 less unique winner in this season alone than from 2017 to 2022. That's a wild stat. That's a wild stat. All right, let's talk FPO a little bit real quick. Kristin Tattar. It's you want to start kind of being. Is it getting numb? Is it getting numb at this point, or no? Is it still kind of?
I have one thing about the Kristin Tattar. She was losing by a few when they called it. Mm-hmm. And like I've been saying, she hasn't been good at coming back. The momentum, which is invisible to you, in that round, sometimes we just have bad days. And she was having a bad day. She got a complete reset, got to come back the next day and completely turned it around, completely flip-flopping from, I think, Paige, who was winning. Somebody was winning, not her.
You're talking about after round 1?
And then they played some holes the next day. They actually got holes in. And in those holes, I think it was like 9 holes.
Mm-hmm. I think Paige had the lead. I believe she had maybe a 2-shot lead at one point. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then they called it. They come back, completely flip-flops. Kristin runs away.
Yes. So you're gonna keep living on that hill that Kristin can't win from behind. And
I don't say can't. I'm saying she hasn't. I'm not counting this as a
come from behind.
Yep.
Because there was like a reset or whatever.
There was a reset. She was losing, man.
That's fair.
But she ends up completely dominating and winning by 6, I think.
So this is kind of crazy because I think too, like the weather, there is something to be said about being able to play well when there is bad weather, right? And some people just aren't able to actually play well in bad weather, and I'll and maybe some people didn't handle the reset that well either, right? Maybe Kristin Tattar went from like not playing that great to then using the reset in her advantage. I just like sorted round 1. So you have Kristin Tattar and Emily Beach both shooting 57 round 1. Kristin Tattar finished the tournament 17 under. Emily Beach finished the tournament 13 over after shooting the same score in round 1. You have Holland Hanley. Holland Hanley shot 2 shots off the lead after round 1. She ends up finishing 21 shots behind Kristin after being 2 shots off the lead. Paige Pierce, 1 shot off the lead after round 1, finishes 16 shots off the lead at the end of the tournament. So there was some craziness those last couple rounds of where just like some people I just don't think were able to do it and handle it.
It's a weird thing. Here's the situation. If I'm playing you, okay, and you're all over the place, you're just hitting trees and you're 2 over par and I'm 4 under and I'm just smoothing. And then you stop that round and you go, okay, guys, come back tomorrow. It's over. Like, that's a big difference, man. Because you don't have your stuff figured out. Your confidence is absolutely in the gutter. I'm shredding.
Yep.
Like that's a big difference. It is.
No, and trust me, I was on the bad side last year. I was on the side that had to play 2 rounds in one day, and I got destroyed. I got dominated. So I've seen it firsthand. It's tough to do, and it's tough to do.
There's a reason there's timeouts in sports.
Yes. Or the fake injury in like tennis where it's like, ooh, I pulled a hammy, and then you like go, you take like a 10 minute, 15 minute break, and then you come back out. So yeah, kind of good stuff. All right. The other big stories I want to talk about. This was Kristin Tattar's 7th win of the season. She led the field in strokes gained tee to green, scramble rate, and birdies. We are looking at potentially, after her season last year, she already has $48,000. She's already won $48,000 this year after setting the record that ended up getting broken a few hours later once I believe Ricky ended up winning the tour championship. In 23 events last year, she made $103,000. So far in 11 events, she's at 48,000. And this is without that massive jump when, if she wins the tour championship, that's like $25,000, $30,000 jump. So we're looking at potentially the best season in FPO history right now with what Kristin Tattar is doing. And I don't know if she was this dominant last year. I know she won a lot that last year, but there's so many tournaments this year too where it's like it's not close coming down to the wire. When when she has the lead, it's like everyone's like, okay, well, I'm not going to beat her, so now I just need to play for second, and I need to figure out how to play for second. And no one's actually even pushing her because it's just like so she can kind of just coast into a lot of these things. Some other things to look at. Haley King withdrawals. So after winning last week Dynamic Disc Open, Haley King WDs, a lot of question marks on this though. She withdraws on hole 10, I believe, but I don't know exactly what hole it was for her, like the reset and all that. But then she comes back and caddies the rest of the round. So maybe there is some sort of arm injury or something to where she can caddy, but not affected.
I'll say this. I was warming up for my round, and I heard Seth talking, being like, "Okay, that's a bummer." Blah blah blah. She ends up rolling up by us in the gator. So somebody went out there, grabbed her, brought her up, and she was in tears. So it was not like some like thing to where she's like, okay, I'm bored, I'm done, like blah 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 blah. Like she was legitimately hurt. So I don't know what the injury was, but from my perspective, that's what I saw.
She's not hurt anymore. She was playing today and is going to be playing in the preserve. So whatever happened, it is healed and she's better. So I don't know exactly what went down. I know, and let's be honest, there needs to be some sort of accountability with people withdrawing from tournaments, because we've seen it before of where people like withdraw from a tournament on Sunday and then we see them the next day practicing for the next tournament. And there is just some kind of weird stuff going on there. I'm not saying everyone that withdraws is withdrawing for bad reasons. Obviously, there's a lot of people that withdraw for good reasons. Like, I rolled my ankle. I can't put any weight on it. I can't throw. And then they take a couple weeks off. But there does need to be something to be said, because I think right now, unless there is pressure on the media, unless there is pressure on the fans of saying like, no, you guys should play unless you're actually cannot play, right? Unless that actually happens, there are going to be people that are just like, oh, I kind of tweaked my elbow. It kind of hurts a little bit, but I'm playing really bad. So I'm just going to withdraw because I don't want a bad rating, or I don't want this to hurt my world rank, whatever it may be, or I don't want people to see how bad I am, how bad I played. Like until there's pressure from the media, from people like us doing podcasts, or from the fans, there's really no reason for players not to just withdraw and then just play the next tournament. And that's what we've seen multiple times this season alone.
No, I definitely agree that it's almost impossible unless you have a doctor who's like, okay, let me check you out and make sure. And then you get like a doctor's note, like if you're skipping school or something, you know what I mean? Because at this point, if I say I'm injured, like you have to go off of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Period. Like, who are you to question me with my injury? You know what I mean?
Unless you start playing the next day.
Yeah, the next day. But what if,
then you weren't that injured?
Well, for example, I know of a situation from myself. I go and play the Music City Open, and I'm playing, and I slip off the edge of the teapot, fall down, roll my ankle.
Yeah.
I played a few holes after that, and I could have kept playing, and it wouldn't have been detrimental. But the course conditions were so bad that I was like, if I keep playing, it's very possible that I do this again. And I did. I was walking, and I rolled it again, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. This is it. I could have kept playing after that. Is it within my right to say, no, I'm done? I don't want to play anymore. Like, this is bad. This is unsafe for me to play. I just rolled my ankle 2 times on this course. Or is that a situation where you're saying, no, Paul, you probably should have toughed it out and played the rest of the round?
No, I think in that scenario, like it's a player on player basis, right? Me and you both could wake up tomorrow, or could wake up on Thursday morning with a fever. And one of us decides, I don't want to play with a fever. I'm going to DNF. And the other person says, like, I'm just going to suck it up and play with this fever. Like, I think that's completely fine. Same thing in the regards of, I have tweaked my ankle, I'm going to power through and play. And you go, I've tweaked my ankle, I'm going to play it safe. Those two things are very, very fine. And I don't think that's a problem. I think it's just going to start getting a little bit. I know some players get annoyed with it, especially the players that don't get into the tournament. Those are probably the players that are probably the fed up with this the most. Is like, I was on the wait list, I was the next one. You basically just took a spot and just like WD'd because you wanted to. It's just something to look at, because it happens a lot. It's been happening a lot in disc golf. Right.
I think the worst part about this is not a fake injury, but people actually just not playing because there's no chance to cash, which is why
we had 3 DNFs. We had 3 DNFs in MPO. We had 4 DNFs this tournament.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm so far out of the cash. Like, why am I going to show up tomorrow? What's the point? Like, that's why I believe there should be a cut for that exact reason, because that will keep happening. And because of the way the sport is, they can be like, no, I've had a fever, like you said. I couldn't play.
Yeah, and not everyone's going to care about this. No, not everyone's going to look at this and even realize it. But there will be some people that are like, wait, you just said you were injured and you need time and stuff to get better, but now you're playing the next week. And it doesn't add up, right? On Haley's side, I didn't see anything on her Instagram post talking about her injury. I didn't see anything on her post saying that she was healthy. I saw that she is throwing and feeling good and is playing. So I don't know. It'd be one thing if someone posted like, I'm DNFing or I'm withdrawing today because I broke my hand and I'm going to take some time off. And then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, they're like, actually, I feel good, I'm going to play. That would, throw up some red flags a little bit, but
there could also be personal issues that, don't need to be public, that
100%.
somebody has those reasons as well.
100%. No, there's tons of things. It's just one of those, the more that it happens on a high level scale with big players. Cause like I said, you probably didn't even know there was 3 guys that DNF'd, right? You had no clue.
I think I saw it. Yeah.
Okay. You may scroll down and saw it, but they weren't notable names. It's kind of when notable names DNF, and that's, I think, where it gets maybe some people looking at it a little bit more. So just something to think about. Again, if the rating system thing wasn't gone, I also think a lot of DNFs wouldn't happen. That's just also my take, is if ratings didn't exist, I think a lot of people would just be like, well, I might as well just play. There's no point of not playing. Okay, a couple more things, FPO, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. But a couple of these things I have to say. First off, did you see the new coverage on live picture-in-picture? Amazing. Loved it. Were you able to see that?
Yes, it looks really good.
They did it on like hole 5. I saw it with like Missy Gannon. She throws her shot, and instead of cutting to her and not seeing the shot, they just put her little face cam in the bottom left so you can see her reacting as the disc is flying. Awesome job by the Disc Golf Network doing that. Love the picture-in-picture. Would love to see that on more kind of stressful tee shots like that. Other thing, we'll get into the equal payout and stuff, because I want to dive a little bit more into that. So we're going to house that, but we will be talking about the equal payout for MPO and FPO champions. But the other thing I wanted to say is, did you see the tweet from Ella Hansen?
No.
So Ella finished, I guess, an hour or so before Kristin finished, and so she tweeted this picture out. And the picture is of the check, and it already has Kristin Tattar's name on it. An hour before the tournament ended. And so Ella says they pre-wrote the check like an hour before they even finished. LMMO. Kristin is the killer. So it does look like it's dry erase. So it does look like you can kind of fix it. But maybe anyone out there that has trophies where you're like etching in the name of the winner, maybe let's hold off until maybe they're like on the green or something, to where it's done, because it's gonna be a lot harder to like etch in their name and then have to change that. Last thing I want to talk about, I thought this was very fascinating. You might not think so. Paige Pierce, I don't know what's going on right now. We might have to have her back on the pod, because I'm very confused at where she is mentally, because she starts awesome. She starts the week awesome. Thursday, she comes out in the press conference and says, you know what? I'm not messing around anymore. I'm taking it serious. I'm ready to get like some hot rounds. I'm ready to shoot some good scores. On one side, I like that. On another side, I'm like, why were you messing around in the first place? I don't get that. Does that mean like you just didn't care and you're showing up to tournament? It kind of goes back to my analogy of where your little brother beats you in something and you're like, oh, I was just messing around. I wasn't really trying. But I like that she's just like, I'm going to give it my all. The thing that I don't get, though, is on the final day, the final round, she's not out of contention yet, right? She plays great. She plays great the first round, plays phenomenal the first round, gets off to kind of a bad round, I guess, in round 2. And now we're in round 3, the final round. She's not out of the tournament by any means. She's on hole 5, so it's still very early. And she turns to the crowd with 2 discs in her hands and asks the crowd what disc should I throw on the island hole. To me, that's messing around. Isn't that the definition of messing around, is having fans pick what disc to throw?
I think so.
Like, regardless of the outcome, regardless of whether she throws the disc that they pick in the basket, regardless of she throws the disc OB, which has ended up what happening, regardless of the outcome, I don't care about the result. I'm just saying, if you're saying I'm done messing around, I'm taking this serious, I'm going out and trying to shoot hot rounds, That's something you do like in a charity event in the skins match. That's something you do in.
I don't know. Let me have
Am
a
I
little
off?
pushback
Am I
here.
off here? Am I off?
Okay, so what about the Phoenix Open? The leaders come in. What if they take off and they show a jersey to the crowd and then they get the crowd going? Isn't that messing around?
They're also doing that on the first day. They're also doing that on the first day. Yes, it does. It does mess. It does matter a little bit, because if you are Simon Lizotte, for example, Simon Lizotte is not going to throw crazy shots when he has a chance to win. We've seen it. When he's in contention, he doesn't throw crazy shots.
I'm saying, you're telling me that there has been never a time at the Phoenix Open when they walk up to 17 and they do something to get the crowd involved.
Also, what you're saying is way different. What you're saying is you're taking off a shirt and showing a different shirt. How is that affecting your golf swing?
Okay, because of this. Because that wouldn't be to your normal situation. You're putting yourself out of rhythm. I hear what you're saying, but wouldn't that be Mr. Buttoned Up? Okay, I walk up, I put my tee in the ground, I go through my routine, and I hit my shot. I wave to the crowd and I get out of there with whatever score I get, and then it's head down to the next hole. That's what you're saying you want from these people who are taking it.
No, because I love what Gannon did. Right when Gannon's walking up to his putt on 18, even like Missy did it. A couple other MPO players did it, of where we're walking to hole 5 and then they're like getting the crowd going and stuff. I love all that, because you know why? They then go into their pre-shot routine. Everything you do before, that's fine. You can do all that and then go into your pre-shot. Paul, no one is going on hole 16 at Waste Management saying, what do you guys think it is? Should I hit it with a 9-iron or a 5-iron? You guys pick. That's what it is.
That's not even close to a good comparison, because I can throw a Raptor, a Zeus, whatever, and make the same exact stroke to that island hole. It's a hyzer sidearm or a hyzer backhand for me, where I could throw 30 different discs and it wouldn't matter to me. Now,
that is the exact comparison, though, of like literally pick what shot you want me to throw, pick what shot you want me to hit. That is the comparison.
Do you have 2 discs in your bag that you could throw and make the island with? The same.
I have 15 discs. I could probably do it with every disc in my bag.
So if your disc is getting picked, you're telling me that you already are out of your pre-shot routine. Or can you then get the disc picked, like just going like this to the crowd, get the disc picked, and then go into your pre-shot routine? I'm asking you, does that completely take you out of your pre-shot routine? Or are you able to have some antics and then be able to go into your pre-shot routine and give it 100%?
Uli, I guess I'm not explaining myself well, I guess. The argument here is everyone is looking at Paige to get back to this spot that she keeps talking about, right? Had she not made that quote of like, I'm done messing around, I don't think this would have been that big of a deal. I don't think people would have, it would not have caught my eyes or anything like that. The contrast between saying on Thursday, I'm done messing around, and then on Sunday, when you still have a chance to win the tournament, asking the crowd what disc to throw on an island green, those two things do not make sense to me. And that's where I'm at on this whole thing. I just want to, and I'm just trying to understand what's going on with the Paige dynamic, because we've heard her say, like, I don't really care if Kristin beats me. Then we've heard her say, like, oh no, I want to be the best in the world. I'm here to prove it that I'm the best in the world. And we're just kind of seeing this back and forth stuff. And I just want her to either come out and say, you know what, I'm just out here to have fun and play, and whatever the results are, it is what it is. Or I'm out here and I'm going to give it all I got. And if I lose, I'm going to man up and just be like, I lost, I got beat. And to me, it's like there's this weird, I don't know what I'm getting from Paige. When she wins, it's like, I went out there and dominated, I'm going to keep doing that. And then when she loses, it's like, oh, I wasn't caring, I didn't care. I let the fans pick what disc I'm throwing. Do you see what I'm at? Like, as a fan of Paige, I'm a fan of Paige, and I'm trying to root for her, and I don't know how to do that because I don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah, I think you're taking her. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's that big a deal. I really don't. I could totally see myself walking to that thing, having 2 discs, and being like, which one? And the crowd being like, no way, right. And I go, oh, and then they go left. And then I go and I throw my shot, and the crowd gets erupted, and I'm able to hit the island green with both of them because it doesn't freaking matter at all. And I don't think I think that would actually be a fun thing for me to do. And I don't think it would take me out of my routine in any way. And I think you could do it, and you could see yourself doing that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, okay, I get the comparison of, listen, she had a bad finish. Okay, what's going on? I thought she was going to give it her all. Maybe that's her all isn't going to beat Kristin Tattar. That's a completely good argument. But bringing up her choosing a disc, I don't think I'm going to go on the same page with you on this because of the fact I could put myself in that situation and completely see myself doing that. Now, I am not winning tournaments, of course, as we speak right now, or haven't in the past, and I'm not a dominant player and blah, 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 blah. I don't have the accolades that do that, but I could see myself doing that while being able to maintain a professional composure and throwing a good shot on the hole. That's my only defense.
I'll end it. My last argument is I end it here. We see that stuff in charity events. We see that stuff at GK Pro Skins. We see that kind of get the crowd engaged with what you're doing. We see that there. And I could be wrong. I haven't seen that in any other professional manner, in any other professional sport. I haven't seen any golfer ask a fan, should I hit a draw or should I hit a fade? I haven't seen any NFL coach ask the crowd, what play should I run or should I pass? I haven't seen that kind of we might have just lost Uli, but I haven't seen that in other sports. And again, my whole thing is, as a Paige Pierce fan, as someone that wants her to compete at the highest ability and battle Kristin Tattar, them going head to head, back and forth, to me, it's hard to know exactly what is going on. And I guess now that I'm solo dolo for right now, if someone else has seen that happen in professional sports in a serious manner, I would love to tweet me, I guess, and I will stand corrected. But to me, asking the crowd what throw, what shot, disc, whatever it is, to me, that is what messing around is. So there it is. All right. Well, while we try to get Uli back, I'm not sure exactly what happened. We are going to bring in our on the ground correspondent here. We got Kevin in the wings. He texted me saying, listen, I've got some details. I've got some stuff I want to talk to you about on this Paul McBeth situation. So we're going to bring Kevin in here. If you've been living under a rock in the disc golf world and don't know, Paul McBeth and Dylan Cease, I believe, ended up purchasing the Throw Down the Mountain property. It was a property that was looking to be bought out by a developer. And obviously a lot of people in the local community did not want that. They did not want the course to go away. They wanted it to maintain. So Paul and Dylan came in. Paul loves Throw Down the Mountain. That's like one of his favorite courses, something that he talks about a lot. And they went in and bought it and were like, we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this tournament. I know it's also something that Paul wants to have on tour potentially. And so they ended up buying this. And there was a tournament there, not Throw Down the Mountain, but another tournament there. They were playing a different layout than Throw Down the Mountain, the actual tournament layout. It's like a shorter amateur layout. And someone ended up getting hit on the tee pad of another hole by a disc. And that person is now filing a lawsuit against Paul McBeth and Dylan Cease. I believe their company's name is Mix Cease, which is the one that actually owns the property. They are filing a lawsuit against them. And as of right now, the big thing is Throw Down the Mountain is shut down. You can't play it. Nothing's happening at the course. And it is a top course for a lot of locals in the area. So a lot of people are pissed off. So without further ado, we're going to bring Kevin in. Kevin, welcome to Tour Life, brother. How you doing, man?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Did I do a decent enough job of kind of giving like the overview of what's going on with this lawsuit?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing though, this is pretty much the same course that all the A tiers are being ran at. And it hasn't changed much, just the kind of like the short tees versus like the long tees. That's the only thing that's different about this course.
Gotcha. Okay. So the person that got hit, I didn't know this at the time. I kind of put two and two together. Finally, he owns a local retailer in the greater Tampa area down there in Florida.
Yes, correct. His name's Trevor Tahonis, and he owns Local Route in Clearwater, Florida, and he's been running that shop for, I think, probably since 2017, 18. And he's kind of turned the community against him in like so many different ways, and he keeps like squeaking out of it. And I think this was kind of like the final thing that kind of like tipped the iceberg, and now everybody's kind of showing his true colors.
Yeah, so my only interaction with him, I was down there playing with my buddy who lived down there, and I was playing some of the courses, and I think I lost one of my like straight Raptors or something. I was like, dang, I need to try to find a straight Raptor. So I ended up going into his retail store, and I was kind of looking around and all that. And the first thing that jumped out at me that I was like, this is weird, is some of my Get Freaky zones were there. Some like my OG and some other kind of limited edition, if you will, discs were there, and they were not being sold for MSRP. They were not being sold for like the $25 or $21.99 or whatever it was. Like these were like being sold for $50, $75.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what's going on here? That kind of threw me a little bit for a loop. Also, some of the used discs, if you go into Foundation, you can get like some nice discs for like $3, $4. Some of these used discs were like $15. I'm like, I'm like, what is happening right now? So
with like ink all over them, like chunks missing out, and he'll try to sell you them too. He'll be like, yo, no, this is like a rare collectible, blah blah blah. He's like, this is worth at least $20. I'm giving you a deal. You're just like, what?
Yeah, so that was from the business side. That kind of made me a little bit like, I'm not really a big fan of what's going on. And then talking to him, I'll say this: if you come to me and say you're a world champion, and then I later find out that you're a world champion in AM 50 or something, I don't. That was the other thing is that kind of just threw me off. Is I was like, bro, I'm just in here to buy this. I'm trying to get out.
Sure.
But yeah, so I did hear from some of the people in the local area too that they were kind of like, I kind of stay away from that shop, whatever. So it wasn't like it had great reviews from other people in the local scene, which is kind of a little bit rare, right? Because most disc golf communities really support their local retailers.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing that I feel like kind of brought Local Route kind of like up to the surface was back when Nico outed them. And Nico made like a big statement saying how they owe him like $2,500, and then he also like mentioned that they owe like Clash discs like $58,000 because Clash sent them their discs and he never paid them. Same thing with Castaplast. I mean, Nico has a review on their Google
we can
Maps
pull it
or
up
whatever.
Right here. I'll read it off to the
Here you go.
I'll read it off to the listeners.
Go for it.
This is what Nico said on the review. He said, I would highly recommend staying away from this store location. The owner of the company, Trevor, is notorious for ripping people off in the disc golf community. He stole $58,000 worth of discs from Clash Discs and refused to pay his bill for 5,800 products sent to the store location. This business owner and Mason Bailey sold these discs at wholesale and retail and kept the money for themselves. Local Route also directly ripped me off of a sponsorship deal, still owes me over $2,500. Trevor, the owner, also stole discs from Casaplast and refused to pay his bill with this company as well for over $30,000. These are all known facts, not accusations. The owner of this business is truly a thief, and I wouldn't support anything he's involved in ever again. The truth needs to be known to the disc golf world. Trevor, I don't know how to say his last name, is a thief and a liar. He's currently getting sued by multiple companies right now for stealing products without paying his debt, then using that stolen money to reinvest in other products. I mean, that is I would say maybe there's other ways of maybe saying some of that stuff that's a little nicer than maybe the Nico route. So that was Nico's opinion on it. And you know, the one thing that jumps out to me obviously is that he was sponsored by this company and wasn't given the money that he was told. And that's something like all the other things, I guess, are all like allegedly, right? Like he's not involved in those other things. So it's probably he's hearing other things from other people. But from most players, if they're like, yo, I was sponsored by this company, they told me they were going to pay me $10,000. They only pay me $5,000. They owe me $5,000. I'm going to side a lot of times with that player.
Sure. Yeah. Another thing, I used to be sponsored by Millennium, and the first time I ever heard anything bad about them was someone up in Millennium was like, yeah, we don't supply to local route anymore because he just won't pay us. Like, we'll give them the discs and then he won't ever pay us back. So we had to stop. I was like, oh my goodness. Like you're kidding.
Yeah. So we don't know exactly what is all going down. A lot of these things are just people making accusations and saying certain things. But when multiple people say something, like multiple people that aren't connected all have a certain thought or an idea of someone, a lot of times it's probably true, right? And right now, the crazy thing to me that's going on, and maybe if you want to touch on this a little bit more, is he got hit at a tournament on this course. Paul and Dylan were not involved at all with the tournament itself. They weren't TDs. They weren't involved. They just owned the property. And my thought is, if Paul and Dylan were not the owners of this course, would this lawsuit would have happened, right? If he wasn't like, oh, there's really some wealthy people that own this place, you know?
Right. Yeah. And Michael Barnett, the owner of Sun King Discs, he's the one who usually runs the tournaments out in Brooksville, Florida. And he was the one. I'm almost positive. Oh, I can actually look it up right here. I'm pretty sure he was the one TDing for that tournament. Michael Barnett was the TD for that tournament.
Okay.
And I actually know I called up a friend from Florida and was talking to him about this earlier today. And I was like, oh, how did it happen? And it's actually not even something like uncommon. Hole 11. Have either one of you guys been and played Throw Down the Mountain?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so hole 11 is it's like the signature hole. It's got the big throw down the mountain, the like spelled out right in front of you, and it's this par 4 that goes down to the right. And then hole 13 is a hole coming back up, but it's down on the canyon floor, and then you're throwing from way up top. And apparently a disc just like hyzered out and caught him. I don't know where it hit him, but it did hit him. And then he immediately, and then again, this is hearsay from my good friend. Allegedly. Yeah. He turned around to his card mates and was like, "Did anybody see that? Did anybody see that? I'm going to sue him for that." And so I mean, that just kind of shows you to the character of like Trevor, you know.
Yeah. So a couple things, right? A couple things. One is like when we play at these tournaments, a part of signing up and a part of like being in a PDGA sanctioned event is we are all putting ourselves saying like we are doing something that is potentially dangerous, right? We are throwing discs around other people and it's potentially dangerous. So we are already knowing that. And so I know like if something accidental happens, I don't know if there's much of a case there. To me, it'd be very interesting to if there was still maybe a case with like through the PDGA's insurance policy, right? So like if you accidentally get hit and you have medical bills and all this stuff, I believe that's when the insurance policy that the PDGA has that would like cover those things. But when you're trying to sue for damages and all these other things, I think there has to be some sign of like that say that word
negligence.
For me,
yeah,
we were talking about earlier.
Negligence.
Yeah. So like if I go to a golf tournament and I'm playing in a golf tournament and I slice the ball and it hits a fan and they have to go to the hospital or something like that, or let's just use disc golf. I throw a shot, it hyzer out, it hits a fan. If I didn't do it on purpose, essentially, right, I would be not liable, would be my thought of it. But that person would be able to go through the insurance, go through the PDGA and cover it. And that would be covered, I believe. Now, if I turn from the tee box and just aim directly at someone in the crowd and throw it and hit someone in the crowd 20 feet from me, now all of a sudden I've done something on purpose. Those two things are different. So I do think he has a case, right? In the sense that he did get hit by a disc, did get injured, has some sort of case in that regard. But the one thing that kind of threw me off is like, why is he not going through like the PDGA? Like, that's the weird thing to me is why is he like saying, I don't want to go through the PGA. I want to sue the people that own the course. Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I can think of is probably the direct competition with local route. I mean, Throw Down the Mountain's probably 30, 45 minutes of like north of him. So, I mean, first off, I think that this was just a terrible idea to just go out and sue somebody like Paul McBeth or even like the course Throw Down the Mountain, because it's such a staple in Brooksville and in Florida disc golf. So everybody loves this course. I feel like picking on that course in general was just not the wisest move. But I guess he could somehow think that it would help his business by closing down Michael Barnett's tournaments for the next couple of months because of this lawsuit. But even that, I mean, the disc golf community took it a completely different direction. I mean, Throw Down the Mountain is my favorite course that I've ever played, and I've played, all across the country. And so many other people love it down there in Brooksville. So for them to have to close the course because of Trevor, I mean, he did it to himself almost.
Paul, do you have any thoughts on this? Do you think like what do you think should, if we have over 1,000 people listening right now, if someone gets hit at a tournament and gets actually hurt, what do you think that person should do?
I mean, it happens all the time, unfortunately, in disc golf, especially like just random people who don't know what disc golf is. Those guys are the people who get hit a bunch, because they don't see it coming. They don't know what 4 means. And then all of a sudden they're getting hit. I don't know. I think it's a city problem sometimes because that's where they would go to because they don't really know where to go. Now, in a tournament like you were talking about, like it's the PDGA, that's why they have the insurance policy. That's why you sign up. It's a PDGA event and you have your insurance. I could see, playing devil's advocate, I could see like you suing the course because of the poor course design, putting holes in a spot to where you're like, nope, this is fine. And then the hole is played. But being a local, knowing that is a situation like you were just saying, Kevin, like obviously he's played this course before. He knows that is a thing that happens on that hole because and then you get hit. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what about like day law, right? Like day law has those nets. So is that what you're saying when it's like you set up the course a certain way of where disc could be flying at a tee box, so you protect it with nets? Is that what you're saying? Like if they know that a tee box someone could throw in on them on a different hole, could they be liable by not having like protective nets on that tee box? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yeah, but this isn't a tee box. It sounds like it's a shot that you need it to turn over, and if it doesn't, it goes into another fairway potentially. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, there really isn't a way to protect the people on hole 13 because you throw off a cliff and like let's say there was a net directly in front of you, you could still it's just a matter of the disc hyzering out to the left.
Gotcha.
I think even a bad shot shouldn't get all the way over there, but it happens. I mean, sure. But talking Brodie, you actually brought up De La. Trevor, the person who is suing, he has this list of all the injuries and how he can't make money anymore and how he's pretty much disabled now because of the injury. He went out to California a couple weeks after the injury and played all 24 or all 27 holes at De La and then came back and now the lawsuit's like brought up. So that's very interesting as well. Like, I don't think you can play De La if you're injured, like he says in the lawsuit.
This is one of those stories that I think if Paul's name isn't attached to this tournament, no one's really probably picking this story up. It's, Paul, do you know if Paul's come out, if McBeth has come out with a statement or anything? Do you know?
I haven't seen anything at all. Anything? It sounds like to me with what's going on, the best bet for this guy is to just shut it down and move on.
Oh, you're saying like drop the lawsuit?
Yeah, because from what I've seen as far as like social media, like it is going the complete opposite way and it's pointing to him. Like I've seen memes and all this stuff. So it's a battle it sounds like, I don't know the details from it. I wish this guy made like some sort of statement and I knew more details where he's coming from, because I can't like be like, this guy's
yeah, I was just gonna say, if you go to like discgolf.law, and I would highly advise everyone listening to this, he's probably our best resource on like what's going on contractually and legally with a lot of these things. And so if you go to his YouTube channel, he has like a nice little 10-minute piece about the actual filing that this guy has against McCease. And that's like, Kevin, you kind of mentioned some of the things that he says, like loss of work and all these other damages that he's kind of saying he has. He kind of lists those all out so you can get a better idea of what exactly he is claiming and suing for. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll kind of see. I mean, Kevin, unless you have something else, I think this is one of those things where we'll kind of just see what happens and see how it plays out. Like if it even actually moves on, or if Paul and Dylan just somehow settle with this guy outside of court to just kind of get it over with. I'm not really quite sure where we go from here.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing right now, I guess, is that the Third on the Mountain course is closed right now.
Yeah.
And the whole community down in Florida is just so upset because of that. I mean, this is one of the best courses in America, and no one can play it right now because they have to deal with this lawsuit. And then another thing that I was going to add that I don't think a lot of the public knows outside of Florida is that Trevor runs a tournament at a ballpark, like during the entire summer. And people get hit all the time there. Like he has holes intertwining and like you throw over it's quite a jungle of itself. And like for him, it's just I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that this guy would decide to point a finger at Paul and say, you've got to change your course.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen some we've seen some camera guys get hit pretty badly on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We've seen some fans being in the wrong spots, not really maybe being set up properly on some of these holes. And we've luckily, I mean, I would say Eagle's grenade was probably the worst injury that I have seen or heard about. I'm sure there might be some other ones out there, but one thing I would say taking away from this is the safer we can make courses, the better, because the last thing I think anyone wants to do, and especially if we're trying to get a Pro Tour a Pro Tour tournament on this course, right? We don't want to be putting fans and players in a dangerous a dangerous situation. And so if there was some sort of positive that we could take away from this moving forward, it could be that, Paul ends up looking at the course layout or something, and he's able to change something or add something or do something to kind of just increase player safety and fan safety. Because if we are trying to have a Disc Golf Pro Tour there, and it sounds like, just from what I've seen on the internet already, it sounds like that local community in disc golf down there is big and energetic and loud. There's going to be probably thousands of spectators out there. So I just want everyone to obviously have a safe viewing out there. And maybe that's the positive we take away from this.
I think you kind of hit it on the nose too, though, Brodie, when you said, like, people just, like, accidentally get hit. Like, if we're in a tournament, like hole 1 this last weekend, I watched a disc flip over and go into hole 2's fairway. If there is a crowd over there, somebody's getting hit. Like, it accidentally happens. We don't have complete control over our disc. Otherwise, I'd probably win a couple more tournaments. Like, it's a thing that happens in our game. Like, it doesn't matter your course design. There are things to put nets up and blah, 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 but it doesn't. I've never been there, so it's really hard for me to talk about the subject with, like, definites. You know what I mean? But presuming this hole is what I imagine it to be, it seems like a rare thing that happens and an unlikely thing. And if that's the case, then I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a funny story at that, and I think you're right. If it wasn't Paul McBeth, probably wouldn't even hear about it.
Yeah, it probably would not be mentioned at all. But all right, well, Kevin, we appreciate you coming on and giving us the details. Kevin. If you do hear from anything else, let us know. We'll bring you back on here. And if anyone else wants to kind of continue to follow this, like, breaking news style, discgolf.law is probably the place to go, because we'll mention it if anything new happens between now and Wednesday. We'll mention it obviously on the podcast, but he kits his content out pretty quickly. So Kevin, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. And good luck.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that was our correspondent, if you will, with the Paul McBeth lawsuit. Did you expect coming into this season that there was going to be like 18 lawsuits in disc golf? Like, is this like a normal occurrence for disc golf? Does, like, disc golf have just a bunch of, like, weird stuff like this happening, or is this very uncommon?
I mean, I think it does. I think it has lawsuits, but I think we're seeing it more because we have a podcast. So we talk about the current things. Otherwise, I don't try to pay attention to the noise like that. Like, if it doesn't have to involve me, like,
you're out.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like, I'm good, bro. Like, this guy gets hit by a thing, local route doesn't pay his bills. Like, that's not none of my business. But
don't you say, like, no hair off my back? Is that a saying?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
What is that?
I don't know.
What is that saying? Is that a saying? No skin off my. What is it? It's one of those. Neither one of them makes sense, but I think there is something like that. I could use some hair off my back, honestly, but all right. So kind of crazy. All right, let's go equal payouts. Let's go equal payouts. So I think some people were confused about the equal payout situation for this tournament. First off, massive purse that DMC was able to do, $110,000. Incredible purse. A couple ways that they were able to get that. Entry fees actually increased by $100 this year. And then also you had the title sponsor, TrueBank, ended up sponsoring the event for $30,000. And so that was kind of what led, and ticket sales and all those things, what led to the big purse. Now, the thing that kind of got confused, I think, with some people is TrueBank saw that there was going to be a gap between the winner of FPO and the winner of MPO by the payout structure that the Disc Golf Pro Tour has. TrueBank came in and said, hey, on top of the $30K we've already given, we want to give another additional $5K to put towards the winner of FPO. If the Disc Golf Pro Tour would have turned and said, listen, we can't do that, but we'll take your $5K and we'll split it amongst the MPO and FPO like we did your $30K, TrueBank probably would have said, no, we're good. We don't want that. We either want it to go to the winner or we don't want it to go at all. So I don't see how us, being professional disc golfers, we constantly are talking about bigger payouts, more payouts. Why would we ever turn away money? I don't see how that makes any sense.
No, I don't. I didn't know how it happened either. This is the first time I found out about it. You take the money every single time.
Every time.
You take it. You take it every single time. What about this? What if would there be if TrueBank gave then $100,000 on top, and they were like, nope, we want it to just go to MPO? Would that be fair? You see what I mean? Like there's a weird thing there. Or what if they gave $100,000 just to FPO and they said, okay, FPO, that's fine that you have that in MPO, but we're going to give $100,000 and we're going to put it towards FPO. Do you think the Pro Tour would be like, deal, because money's money and we want it? Or do you think that would be a bit strange?
I will say the world we live in now, if you do anything that helps only men and doesn't help women, I think there's going to be some people that get really upset about that. Yeah. My big thing with all of this, and I've said this before, the Disc Golf Pro Tour continues to promote and function as one product. They do not promote and function as two products. They promote and function as one product. The product is disc golf. And until they don't do that, it's hard for me to advocate this idea that more people watch MPO and thus more money should go to MPO.
Right. It's all the same thing.
Because the way that the Disc Golf Pro Tour currently operates is they don't look at MPO and say 10,000 people were tuning into us when we had MPO live and only 3,000 people were tuning into us when we had FPO live. They look at it as 14, what did I say, 10 and 4, whatever. They look at the combination of that's how many people were watching live disc golf this week, right? And until that changes, until I don't know if it'll ever will, but until they decide to separate it as two products, the money, we are all one. And here's my argument too with the whole, well, more people watch MPO, so more people should get paid. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so the people that are the most popular, Simon, Eagle, Calvin, Paul, should they get paid more when they finish first place than Parker Welk, right? If you have that argument, then someone like Parker Welk that isn't really drawing in the fans right now, should he get paid less than for winning than if Simon wins? That doesn't make any sense because we're all one product, right? Like everyone's working together to make this product and the payouts are what they are. So I don't know. Put it. I guess that's and again, like I am 100% not saying that more people are watching FPO than MPO. I think it's very clear with the live numbers. I think it's very clear with Jomez. I think actually FPO going on Jomez actually hurts their case a little bit because when it was on GK or Ace Run or Gatekeeper, you could have the argument of like, well, Gatekeeper has 1/5 of the subscribers that Jomez has. So obviously the views on Gatekeeper for FPO are not going to be the views on Jomez on MPO. Now that MPO and FPO are both on Jomez and the views are still drastically different, you can't really make that argument. So I'm not arguing that more people aren't tuning into MPO. I don't think anyone has that argument. And if you do, I still think you're looking at numbers correctly. My argument is just the Disc Golf Pro Tour has decided that this is one product.
Yep.
And we have to deal with it. And if you don't like it, then take it up with the Pro Tour and say, like, start advocating for two tours or some sort of separation. But that is where we currently are. The Disc Golf Pro Tour, the camera guys that film FPO and film MPO, they get one check from the Disc Golf Pro Tour. They're not getting two checks. They're not getting a check for filming FPO, and they're not getting a check for filming MPO. They're getting one check because the Disc Golf Pro Tour views everything as one. So I'll leave it at that. If you're upset with it, I can see how some people are upset with it, but I don't know.
Hey, that's pretty cool that True Rain gave $5,000 extra.
Yeah, I mean, it's still money just going into disc golf. So there it is. All right. The Bronco Ace Challenge. Did you watch any of that at all? Did you see any highlights?
I did on Instagram.
Okay, so I'll break it down. There was 8 MPO and 8 FPO players that were selected by fans to throw a 500-foot shot to win a car. It was hole 5, the little island hole, but they moved the tee all the way up the hill. So it was downhill, so it was actually pretty reachable. It wasn't very difficult to throw that far. And they had another basket that was set up shorter at 400 feet on the left-hand side. And if you made an ace on that hole, you got $1,000. Everyone got 3 attempts. I really wish these challenges, and I wonder if I wonder if this is like written in the insurance policy of where it's like, you throw one shot, then someone else throws one shot. And I wonder if that's what they have to do, because I would have loved to have 3 shots in a row, right? You're just like, ooh, okay, I got a little bit too much on that. Let me fix this.
Oh, they know that though, I bet.
I'm wondering if that's part of it, because throwing one shot and then having to wait for 17, or I guess it would be 15 people to throw before you go back up there. It's a lot harder than if you could get 3 shots in a row. No one was really close. Ben Calloway was was one hitting the top of the basket. So that's
really close.
Yeah. That was really exciting. Other than that, like I had one that was kind of chain height, but probably 20 feet right. A couple people kind of hyzered in front of it, but no one really was close except for Ben Calloway. He was the closest one, got people hyped up about that. And now we have some people complaining it's not fair. So the FPO, a lot of players struggled to even get to the 400 feet. And Paige and Macy Valadiez were the only 2 FPO players that were actually even attempting to, maybe Missy Gannon tried one, but those were the only 2 FPO players that were actually even attempting to go over the water to get to the ace to win the car. Everyone else was just kind of trying to get to the red basket. And I guess my question here is like, the people that say it's not fair, these also can't be the people that say that there's no advantage. Again, we're getting a little dicey. I'm gonna get a little dicey here. You can't say there's no advantage being an MPO player and not an FPO player, but then also complain that it wasn't fair for the FPO because the basket was too far, right? Is that a little spicy take, or is that? I
think that's an obvious take in this moment because of the fact that they weren't even going for the basket. So, but Paige was. So she was given. Did she get there?
No one cleared the water. I think she got maybe 50 feet. Macy was the closest. Macy skipped one to like 20 feet short of the island, 30 feet short of the island. But I just don't get this. It's hard for me sometimes, and maybe it's not the people that are advocating for men and women to be equal on everything. Maybe it's not those people. Maybe it is the people being like, no, men and women are really different, and this wasn't fair for the women. That's fine. But I'm saying if you're the person that's like advocating that men and women have no differences at all, and then you watch FPO go out there and not a single one gets within sniffing distance of the basket, and all the MPO players for the most part are blasting shots over, and you're saying, well, that wasn't even fair. The FPO didn't even have a chance to make it. I don't get that. I don't understand that. And we'll leave it at that.
I think it wasn't fair sounding, but by the sounds of it, it didn't sound fair. Why wasn't there?
It was definitely not fair in the sense that like you put a car on the line for MPO, but the FPO can't even throw it that far. Yeah, like
Yeah, that was weird.
I
That's
would
weird to me.
agree. It's definitely not fair. MPO players can throw way farther than FPO players. And when we talk, you sometimes hear on like coverage, like, oh, that person can throw 450 feet all hyzer, and oh my gosh, that was a 515-foot smash. There is some hyperbole going on in commentary sometimes, and if you can watch people throw, you watch someone that throws 500 feet on hyzer, and then someone that goes right after them throw, and you can see the drastic difference between the two. So we'll leave it at that. Hopefully they do something different in the future to make it to where both people have chances of making it, because it was kind of a lame, in my opinion, it was kind of a little bit of a lame event for the FPO when it's like, oh, I can't even throw it that far. So
yeah,
what's the point?
I'm mad I was the first person out.
Oh,
So
were
I don't
you?
think that was.
Were you number 9?
Mm-hmm.
We got to get the Tour Life numbers. Come on, Tour Life crew. Got to vote for Uli next time.
I didn't share it or anything.
Well, we should have gave you a little promo.
I was worried that it was
going
to be, when they said it was 500 feet. I was worried that I'm like, oh, I don't think I got that. I was thinking it was going to be like uphill, like this crazy thing.
Yeah, it was drastically downhill. So it was actually, I probably could have gotten a putter over there with how downhill, and the wind wasn't that bad either. So.
Check.
All right, what do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about Bradley Williams. Bradley Williams not actually going to be playing in the preserve this week because he is over in Europe right now. And what is he doing over in Europe? He's over there winning his first European event of the year, the Krokhol Open, I believe is the name of it. It's in Norway. Notable players over there. The only other ones that really jump out is Paul McBeth. That was part of Paul's Euro tour over there. I want to talk to you. I don't know if you watch this, but I want to talk about some of the craziness that happened down the stretch, because this was a crazy ending. So I'm just going to kind of go through the holes. Go ahead. Yep.
I watched a little bit of the second round. I watched the ending of that live. So I didn't see anything in the final round. So hook me up.
Okay. So here we go. Going into hole 14, Paul and Brad have basically separated themselves from the field. Paul has a 1-shot lead over Brad. Paul throws his tee shot to just outside the circle. Bradley parks it. The previous round, Paul threw a backhand Luna and like kind of pulled it over a little bit, hit a tree, yanked it OB. This round, he threw like it looked like a captain's raptor forehand flex. So it didn't seem like that was the shot he actually wanted to throw on the hole, but there might have been something of like, well, I really screwed up the backhand yesterday, so I don't want to do that. So he throws it to like 40 some feet. The basket is one of the most treacherous greens I've seen. It's literally just falls off to OB behind. He steps up. If you haven't seen this putt, you got to go watch this putt. It's on hole 14, final round of the Krokhol Open. It was one of those, it wasn't a weird putt for normal people. It was a very weird putt for Paul, because it was I'm trying to make it, but if I don't make it, I'm probably going OB. And so like last second, I'm not committing. Like it never got cage height, and it lands by the pole, trickles a little bit, and then rolls OB. And it was definitely one of those putts of where you could tell that he was close enough that he didn't feel like he could just lay up, but he was like having this mental battle in his head, and he just couldn't commit to the putt. It was the most non-committal putt I've ever seen him putt. It was very shocking. And he wasn't able to make the comebacker OB. So he ends up, I believe, doubling that hole. Brad birdies that hole. And so now all of a sudden, Brad now has a 2-shot lead leaving hole 14. Crazy. Paul then throws OB on the next hole. Takes bogey. Brad makes birdie. Now Brad has a 4-shot lead. 3 to play. They both birdie on hole 16. 4-shot lead. 2 to play. Brad goes OB on 17. Paul birdies to cut the lead to 12, or to cut the lead to 2. Brad ends up bogeying. Paul birdies. Lead is now 2-1 to play. They both turn their drives over into the woods. Bradley hits, gets stuck. Bad. Paul cuts through, jumps back out into the fairway. Brad has to like chip his forehand out into the fairway now. Paul sticks his shot onto the very tough island green on hole 18. Sticks his shot. Now he has a birdie look. Brad has to get up and down to win. If he doesn't get up and down, 2-shot swing, it's a playoff. Throws a good forehand, cashes the 20-footer, makes it, wins. Let me show you too the crowd. Kind of good crowd for Norway. We got a little photo here. This, I believe, is hole 18. A pretty sneaky, good little crowd. Not too bad. And I don't really hear Norway as like a big disc golf country, right? You hear Finland, Estonia now, but Norway's not one that like jumps out on my radar. I haven't heard too much about it, but sneaky good crowd over there. And good win by Brad. I also heard Brad has never lost overseas, is what I've heard. Not sure if that's a rumor or whatnot, but I believe I heard that on the podcast.
Is that just his first time ever overseas?
That would be a terrible stat if they did that. That
Sounds like it.
I mean, that could be a disc golf stat. That could be a disc golf stat. First tournament overseas, he's never lost overseas. Maybe that's what it was. Everyone in the chat is telling me that was his first tournament overseas. Okay, so all right, never mind. Maybe I was just like, dude, maybe this guy's just a killer whenever he has to fly across the Atlantic. Okay. Next thing I want to roll into. Did you see the Simon Lizotte post? Very sad.
Yes.
Simon Lizotte posted on Instagram saying, I've officially dropped out of the 2023 European Open next month. Due to a number of factors, my team and I have decided it's best for me to cancel my plans for Europe this year. I'm very sad. I'll be missing out on this amazing event. I'll be working hard in the month of July and on other projects that are very exciting for me and need some extra attention. Sorry, Finland. I'll be back next year. Very vague. We don't really get too much on exactly what's going on, but huge bummer for not just, the fans and whatnot that are over in Europe, but really just the fans of disc golf. Not having Simon at the European Open, that's brutal. That's tough.
No President's Cup team, too.
No President's Cup team.
That's a huge blow to the team. No
Sula Open, which I'm assuming he probably would have played as well. And yeah, that's just a tough one. Not much else to say about it. Maybe he comes out and talks a little bit more about it. But as of right now, him not being in the European Open is a big hit. It's a big hit for the tournament for sure. He's probably, maybe him or Paul would be the two fan favorites over there. So yeah. not having him over there is a tough one. Let me go through this. We'll go through the Preserve real quick because we got that coming up on Friday. And then we've got the Natalie Ryan lawsuit, which breaking news just happened an hour or so before the podcast started. So we'll jump into the Natalie Ryan lawsuit and then a few listener questions and we'll end it off. So Preserve Championship starts this Friday. If you haven't yet, check out me and Ezra's practice round video on YouTube. Also check out Uli's practice round video on Joe Mez. Comes out tomorrow morning, I believe, probably.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Check it out to see some of the new updates. I absolutely love the new course changes. So we'll kind of just roll through them and if you want to chime in on what you like or dislike. The only one I don't like is hole 5. Hole 5 is a brand new hole. Doesn't really fit to me in the course. It seems like they just were trying to figure out. They really they combined 2 holes. So they're like, we need to make a new hole. And they were trying to figure out what land they had. It doesn't do much for me. Does it do anything to you? It's just like a 280-foot shot.
No, it's not. It's not all. It's it's not.
It's like a throwaway hole.
Yeah.
Okay. No one's thinking about that hole the next day after the tournament.
No.
Other than that, though, hole 14, another big change. Hole 14, they combined the previous par 3 and the previous par 4 into a par 5.
It's probably not, but I want to say that might have been my idea.
Ooh. Wait, did you get into Kale's ear a little bit?
I did. And I'm sure other people had said it, but I was like, hey, this sidearm hole is kind of lame. Everybody's birdieing it. Nobody's bogeying it. But if you took it and you combined it, but I mean, trying to take credit where it's probably not due.
So I've thrown some good tee shots on there, and I've thrown a couple bad tee shots on there. When you throw a bad tee shot, you actually have a decision to make. And I love that about that hole. The more times we can make decisions, there's a massive force carry right in the middle of the hole. And if you throw a great tee shot, the force carry's not in your head at all. The OB on the left is. But if you don't throw a great tee shot, you now have a decision. Like, am I actually going to try to pull off this great shot and throw it over, or am I laying up? So it'll be interesting to see how people play that hole.
I think it's going to play great. What I also think is going to be a massive backup.
Oh, massive backup. I'm prepared.
It's going to be a massive
2 to 3 card backup on that hole.
I think my only thing would be if we get rid of that high branch off the tee, it fixes the backup because people are then pushing pretty far down the fairway. And note, what's going to happen is people are going to hit that. They're going to land in an area to where they're like, oh, if I just turn it into the trees, I'm good. And people are just going to be chucking it into the trees on the right of the carry and into the water. And people are going to have lost this because they're going to be like, oh, well, did it go in the water? Well, I don't know. I couldn't really see it because it hit a tree line 500 feet in the air. That's my only.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But I do like the change. I think
it's a great hole.
If there is any wind, it's gonna be pretty challenging to get a birdie on that hole. The green's also really good. If you don't have good speed control on that green, you can go off the backside. So I love that a lot. They have a new tee on the next hole, hole 15. That hole, to me, the old hole 15 was kind of lame. It seemed like very, very easy for a lot of people to birdie. Now it's a very demanding tee shot, low ceiling, with also a high floor. Right, that hill. So you've got like a tight gap that you have to hit vertically. Then you have a Mando left on the tree. And also the other thing I like about it, if you miss the Mando, Uli, you got to rethrow. You don't get to advance all the way up to the Mando tree and throw a ridiculous shot and save your par. You got to rethrow. I love that about that hole.
Yeah, and if you miss the fairway, you're in tall grass, which is tough to run up. I've been there twice, and to throw up, I think it's like 420. Kind of tough in high grass.
Very tough. Last change, 18. They just kind of made some a little bit tighter OB and also put OB on the right, so you can't really bail out too much on the right. So made it just a little bit more challenging. I would love probably for 18 to be a little bit more challenging, but it is what it is. The course currently right now is really burnt out. I was kind of bummed coming from Des Moines to Minnesota and seeing how brown and dry everything was. They just haven't gotten rain up here, is what Kale was telling us. So they can't really do too much about that. I don't know if the course actually has an irrigation system set up, but be prepared to watch very, very fast, lots of skips, where last week at Pickard, discs were hitting the ground and just like getting stuck. Like it was just like literally Velcro. I was going to say elastic. That is definitely not what Velcro. And the distance invitational just happened. So be on the lookout. I believe Jomez was out there filming. I think Big Germ was actually emceeing it. You had Simon Lizotte, Gannon Buhr, David Wiggins Jr., Alex Geisinger, Kevin Jones, Ezra Aderhold, Garrett Gerthy, Adam Hammies, Albert Tam, and Anthony Barella. So a really good group of people. So be on the lookout for that to come out. And they had, I heard from Ezra that they had good wind. So they also moved it from hole one to the driving range because hole one was going to be a headwind. So I like that. And also it's a bigger landing zone. And I also have word, no spoilers, but I do have word that I believe AB threw 87 miles per hour.
Yikes.
I believe that's what I was told. Hold on. Let me confirm. I'm going to the text message. Yep. Confirmated. 80 through 87 miles per hour. So
that's going to be a fun watch.
It's got to be in bounds though. That's the thing. There is a landing zone. If you throw 87 miles per hour out of bounds, doesn't count. All right. Last topic. And then we'll get to some listener questions from you guys. Natalie Ryan. So Natalie Ryan did something similar to what she did at OTB. Natalie Ryan filed a lawsuit against the PDGA, the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and Kale's company, which is LaVisca Disc Golf Design in Minnesota. Natalie Ryan filed a motion for a temporary injunction to allow her to play at the Preserve Championship. Also, Natalie filed a lawsuit, and in the lawsuit, Natalie is asking ruling that the defendant's policies are discriminatory, permanently enjoin the defendants from enforcing their policy, and this was an interesting one, basically asking for damages for emotional distress greater than $50,000. As of a few hours ago, the ruling has come through, and the Minnesota judge ruled in favor of Natalie Ryan. So Natalie Ryan will be competing this week in the FPO division at the Preserve Championship. Via Ultiworld. Ultiworld got a statement from, or a quote, I guess, from Natalie. Natalie said, "I wanted to say that I am incredibly thankful for the court seeing me as the woman that I am and that I deserve to play in FPO. I can't wait to compete and aim to do my best." The Disc Golf Pro Tour just recently came out with a statement, and their statement was simply, the Disc Golf Pro Tour has received notice of a temporary restraining order filed in Minnesota State Court on behalf of Natalie Ryan. This motion filed against the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour has now been granted by the court and will allow her to compete in the FPO division at the Preserve Championship. The Disc Golf Pro Tour disagrees with the decision, but will comply with the order, and event will continue as planned. So there you have it with the Natalie Ryan situation. Natalie Ryan is now back, and it doesn't look like it's going to be an OTB situation where Natalie plays one round and then round two comes around. It's like, it gets Natalie is playing. I listened to the video. This is it's different in California versus Minnesota because this one, again, I don't like this lawyer talk. I'm not good at it, but it's different in the sense that they can't like overturn this one, I think. Mm-hmm. That might be a way easier way, too simple of saying it, but Natalie Ryan's in the field. So there you have it. Okay, a couple listener questions. We got this one from Joe Omar. Orner. What are your favorite things about visiting Minnesota, about the Preserve? How do you spend your time when you're not doing practice rounds during the week? Did you hit up any courses around the Twin Cities? Yules.
No playing. If I'm not practicing, I'm usually not playing a course. Now, what do I do in fun time? Brodie and I don't have fun time. We are constantly working. So my fun time is probably eating good food, I would say. Trying to, which is also tough because we're working till as soon as I'm done with this, then I get to go have good food that Sarah's cooking for us. Sounds like a whole Debbie Downer situation, but my favorite, it's not what I'm trying to say. My favorite thing about Minnesota is the crowds that we get out here. Like you were saying about Des Moines, dude, this place gets pretty dang rowdy. And LaVisca and his team, they get a lot of spectators out here. It's a great venue for spectators because they have a huge parking lot. It's well maintained, all this stuff and there's a lot of people who play in Minnesota. I've always been excited about coming and competing here and I've been doing it for a long time. And I would say top 3 states to play in as far as crowds.
Nice. For me, the food, Taco Gringo, very good burrito place.
Pretty good.
Very good burrito place. And then I was just introduced today to Nelson Bros.
I went there too. Very good.
Wow, that place is unbelievable. That place is great.
Really
they
cool.
had donuts the size of my head. It was nuts. And they have like 80 people working there. I don't know how they have so many people, but
it's a gas station too. It looks like a gas station. And you go in there and it's just this massive. It's almost like a Buc-ee's.
Yeah, you can buy a cookie. You can buy a cookie like bigger than my arms can make. It was nuts. Very cool. And then me and Ezra just filmed a video at Mississippi. Oh my gosh, hold on. Mississippi. It's like Mississippi, but Minnesota style.
Oh,
Montissippi. Me and Ezra just filmed a video there. Cool little course. We just played 9 holes. That video will come out at some point. But like Uli said, me and that's a very rare thing that I normally don't play courses outside of the tour. But this was just kind of like a little upshot pitch and putt. We did it for a video for about 45 minutes, so it didn't take up too much of our time.
cool.
All right, next question. Next question comes from NFS Join. Are shorter holes still as fun when you first start out, or have they become boring now that you can throw farther?
Shorter holes are my favorite things to play, like putter shots and stuff. I think it's like because it's like what I'm worst at. I'm not very good at like short 200 foot, 250 foot like putter shots. And so they're a blast to me because it's a big challenge. Now I can just throw a sidearm and eat them up for breakfast, but I don't do that. If I'm like having a good time and playing with my friends or something, I'll throw a bunch of backhands. It's like my favorite part of disc golf. The whole throwing as far as I can, that's all good. It's what I have to do for a living, but it's not my favorite thing.
It's been a while since I've played like a short course like that today. And I got to tell you, man, there is a massive difference, I think, with a lot of people that play disc golf and the courses that we play on tour. Because, I mean, we filmed a video and played the course 24 minutes, 22 minutes, 9 holes. Like, that would normally be like 2 holes.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had a great time. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. Like, I'm down to go out and just throw some zone shots around. It actually was fun to just kind of mess around a little bit and not take it too seriously. So, all right, Kevin Merritt, expand on your form tweet. Believe you were trying to imply if the core basics are there, just figure it out from there by trying things. But what are those core pieces? Not rounding, back foot isn't facing backwards, etc. So me and Ezra, I don't know if you saw this, Uli. Me and Ezra kind of went back and forth a little bit on Twitter because I made a tweet where I sometimes see people getting stuck in disc golf. And again, this is directed towards my followers. I would say the majority of my followers, I could be wrong, but the majority of my followers, people that are following me on Twitter, are not trying to become pro tour players. They're trying to just have more fun at disc golf and maybe get better along the way. I see a lot of people get stuck on like trying to match their form to pro players' form. So they look at some pro players' form, they're like, all right, I'm going to go and try to do that. And my whole thing was, we're all built differently. There's all things happening differently. And if you look at literally any other sport, tennis, basketball, how people shoot, golf, how people swing, there are a lot of different ways to get good results. And my only take was sometimes stop worrying so much about form and trying to change your form to mimic someone else's or trying to get exactly something perfectly. And if it's working for you, so like if you're already a really good putter, instead of you being like, well, my putt doesn't look like Kevin Jones, I need to change it. My whole take was just like, if it's working for you right now, just like get really good at that thing that's working for you. Like practice that thing, get better at that thing. I think a lot of people kind of get stuck sometimes on their form. And again, this was not for people that have awful form and they're doing something that's really bad. No, you need to fix that. This is more for people that are like, man, Calvin's doing this with his reach back and I'm not. He's the number one player in the world. I need to be doing that. And it's like, if you look at the way Calvin throws, Eagle throws, Simon throws, Paul throws, all four of those people, they're all very good at throwing the disc. They all throw very differently. So that was kind of my take, is work with what you got and go with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nothing else to be said about that. Dat Fit Apparel. This is a question for you, Uli. Is Will Schustrick the most talented disc golfer to not be a world champion? If not, who is then?
I would say probably that's a pretty good one right there. Honestly, he has a lot of accolades to go with that. Yeah, I mean, that guy won a lot of tournaments. He's a 4-time major champion with no worlds. I don't think if you were to put up another player next to him, besides maybe somebody like Calvin, who's emerging, and has no majors, that's why I wouldn't even put him in the same category, because Calvin doesn't have the other majors to back it up to be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. I would say Eagle McMahon, Will Schustrick.
Eagle's a good one too. Yeah, good one.
Just because he has majors to back, he has a European major and he has the what was it? The
Konopiste.
Yep.
Konopiste. All right, Aaron, last one here. Has Paige reached the portion of her career where she should become more of a course/situation manager instead of bombing and running everything? I thought this was an interesting tweet. Paige has been known as being very aggressive off the tee and very aggressive putting. I think she was able to get away with that. I think she was sometimes able to get away with maybe making the wrong decision, like running a putt that if she misses, she's going to potentially 3-putt or go OB. I think in the past she was maybe able to get away with that. I don't know if she can get away with it anymore. And I think that would be an interesting thing of like, what if she did play a little bit smarter, right? Instead of like blasting a nuke, what if she was like, all right, well, what if I go like controlled fairway driver just to get something in the fairway? And if she has like a 45, 50-foot death putt, what if she was like, you know what? Let me just lay up. A par here is not going to hurt me. Do you think that could potentially help her game, or do you think she needs to still stay super aggressive? Because when you look at Kristin Tattar doesn't really jump off the page as an extremely aggressive person off the tee. She does run a lot of putts, but off the tee, Kristin Tattar doesn't look like a super aggressive player.
When I look at their two games and I think it's blatantly obvious what Paige is missing. It's blatantly obvious to me. Because if you told me, okay, Kristin, you can only throw backhands off the tee, and then she goes into these tournaments, I think her and Paige would have a nice little battle. But right now, her sidearm is so consistent with her upshot. She's able to compact the wind, and both sides. And the FPO courses are changing. They're becoming longer to where they're trying to make like the greens a little tougher. So sidearm, how consistent she is with the sidearm, with her upshots and everything, I think that if I were to look at it from an outside perspective and an analyst, I would say that's the thing that's different.
It's a good one. All right, let's go into our picks from last week. I don't want to toot my own horn here, Uli.
You do whenever you do good.
Oh, I don't want to
dang trumpet over there.
I don't want to, man. It does not bring me any pleasure tooting my own horn. Trust me, it is painful sometimes to just say how good I am at this picking job as being a disc golf analyst. I've picked my 5th winner of the season.
Yeah, you also had the first pick last week, which is now my.
Yeah, but I picked someone that had coming off of his worst event of the year. So that was a ballsy pick. I got 5 points for Gannon Buhr. You got 1 point for your Simon Lizotte top 10. And we are now going in to the preserve. And we have Gannon Buhr Ezra Aderhold, Alden Harris, Matt Oram, Simon Lizotte, and Evan Smith are all off the table. They cannot be picked for this week. And Uli, you do have the first pick. It's still a close race, brother. 3 points.
It is.
It's 3 point separation.
This is why I say this every week. I'm like, we just need a rule to where you can't use the same guy for like 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks.
Do you want to do 2 weeks? I'll do 2 weeks.
After this week.
Okay. After this week. All right.
Because I want Calvin, because this course is just so set up for Calvin.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Uli with the Calvin pick. All right.
It is just so set up for that guy. Eagle's on the list. Is he playing?
I know. Is he actually going to play though?
There's no way.
That's such a risky pick for me. That's such a risky pick. All right. You know who I'm going with? I'm going with someone that has had another sneaky season because they've only put themselves in contention a few times, but they've had a couple really good backdoor top 10s, and I'm going with AB.
Okay.
I'm going to go with AB for my first pick.
It's a great pick.
And my second pick, I'm going to go. Oh my gosh. Who give me second pick, man. I'm gonna take Mr. Consistency. He did. Oh no, I can't take him. No, I can't take him. I'm gonna go Isaac Robinson.
Okay.
Okay. You got 2 picks.
I'm gonna go. Did you pick Ezra last week?
I did. Ezra's off the table.
Oh, shoot.
Ezra's off the table. Gannon, Alden, Matteo, Simon, Evan Smith.
I think this guy's going to have I'm going to try to pick some people that I don't normally pick. I decided.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take 3 points.
Silas Schultz.
Wow. All right. Okay.
And then
he's been fishing a lot out here, so he's really getting a good lay of the land.
And then I'm going to go with this guy just shot. He actually shot a 13 under in my eyeball today in the wind. I'm going to go with Austin Turner, which is a wild card pick.
Wow. Okay. 13 under in your eyeball. All right. I'm going to go
$5 poorer.
I mean, here's the thing. He's on the board. Do I take him?
You have to take him.
Richard Wysocki. Richard Wysocki. He's on the board. I got to take him. He's on the board.
Didn't you pick him last week? No.
Nope. I picked him, I think, 2 weeks ago, and he got 6th. So he didn't get top 10 last week. He didn't get top 10 last week. So, all right, those are our picks. I've got AB, Isaac, and Ricky Wysocki. Yuli's got Calvin, Silas, and Austin Turner for the Preserve Championship. It starts this Friday through Sunday right here in Minnesota, Clearwater, Minnesota. Come out. Tickets, I think, are still available. So definitely come out. If you can't come out, tune in to the Disc Golf Network. And if you haven't, again, watch our practice rounds to get a good lay of the land of what the course is playing like. You got me and Ezra. You got Uli with Jomez. Tons of content and all that good stuff. Also, we got tons of discs. Like I said before, I'll show them again. We've got some Foundation stamped, top stamped Tour Series disc on foundationdisc.com. We also have some new Get Freaky ESP Flex zones. And we have the Get Flippy Meteors as well. They turn to purple and they turn blue in the sun. Yuli's got his mystery box package deal where it's like, gosh, it seems like it's less than like $15 a disc with all the stuff you get. So you can check all that out on the Team Discraft website. as well. Man, big show. I thought we were gonna go under 2 hours today. Maybe a little naive of me to think that, but there we have it. I don't think I've got nothing left. Uli, you got anything else for the people?
I don't, man.
All right, great show. Yeah, great. I know. My stomach has been rumbling. I'm glad this microphone doesn't pick up everything. But great show. Thanks everyone. We had over 1,000 people for the entire show in here. So everyone that's tuning in for the first time live, we really appreciate it. We go live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you can't catch us live and you're listening to this on the audio podcast, we appreciate you guys as well. Thanks for all the support. Appreciate Silas for producing everything behind the cameras, and we'll see you guys all next week.